Chapter 1061. Shatter the Dantian and be reborn. It was very dangerous and there was only a 50% chance. In the end, Xiling and Bailing also chose to agree with this method. According to Long Fu, Longao had already achieved some success on the path of the sword. Therefore, the best way was to let Xiling or Bailing use the origin sword chi to forcefully break open Longao's Dantian, using the sword chi to reform the Dantian. If others knew what the three of them were doing, they would be scared to death. Shattering the Dantian, reforming it, and then breaking out of the cocoon to be reborn. Such an action was simply too crazy. Xiling and Bailing looked at each other. Their thoughts were very simple, which was who should do it. The two Jianling knew very well that if they failed to forcefully break open the Dantian, Longao would definitely die. Sister, you do it. Bailing was not stupid. Of course, she knew that her sister's strength and control were far above hers. Her sister had a greater chance of success by forcefully shattering the Dantian. How could Violet's spirit not understand her sister's intentions? Nodding, she agreed. Coming in front of Longao, Xiling did not hesitate at all. She turned into a ball of purple flowing light and instantly entered Longao's body. In Longao's Dantian, the dragon seal space had disappeared. Xiling seemed a little dignified. This was the first time she had done something like this. Whether it would succeed was still unknown. She hoped that it would go smoothly. Longao, shattering the Dantian and being reborn. Although it is very dangerous and may even be fatal, once you succeed, you will have unimaginable benefits. I hope you will work hard. After saying this, Xiling did not continue. The origin sword chi, also known as the original sword chi. Xiling was going to use the most powerful one to break open the Dantian in one go. Because in this way, Longao's chances of successfully reforming the Dantian would be greater. She took a deep breath. All of a sudden, Xiling suddenly turned into a purple sword chi and released a terrifying sword chi. If Murongguina was here and felt the terror of this sword chi, he would be shocked speechless. The sword chi hit the Dantian. Longao did not have any reaction. His Dantian was at its weakest state. Moreover, it was Xiling's most powerful sword. With this sword strike, Longao, who had been unconscious, suddenly trembled. Following that, his Dantian shattered and disappeared without a trace. Xiling left the Dantian and appeared in the courtyard. Sister, let's help him help Longao's Dantian. Bailing obviously knew the seriousness of the matter, and did not dare to be the slightest bit careless. She nodded and prepared to help Longao reassemble his Dantian. Long Fu, on the other hand, retreated to the side and waited anxiously, hoping that its master could successfully reform his Dantian. But at this moment, Longao, who had just been forced into his Dantian and was shaking violently, a blood-red chi shield appeared on the surface of his body. It was as if he was wrapped in blood. Xiling and Bailing, who originally wanted to help him reassemble his Dantian, were forcefully repelled by the blood-red chi shield. Huh! What on earth happened? Xiling, Bailing, and Long Fu were dumbfounded. They did not know what happened to Longao. Why would a blood-red shield appear out of nowhere? It was too strange. The blood-red shield was extremely strong. Even Xiling and Bailing could not get close to it. Under normal circumstances, Longao's Dantian was forcefully shattered and he would be considered dead. However, Xiling and Bailing were powerful Jianling. If they helped Longao to reform his Dantian in time, they would have a 50% chance of survival. But now, Master's bloodline. Bloodline? Xiling and Bailing were also curious about Longao's bloodline. As powerful Jianling, they certainly knew that Longao's bloodline was very unusual. But even so, what was the connection between the bloodline and the Dantian? Moreover, Longao's bloodline had been sealed. What was going on now? Longao's bloodline has been sealed. But now, the shield is so strong that we can't get close to it. According to Longao's situation, if we delay any longer, he won't be able to reform his Dantian. Only death awaits him. Hearing this, Bailing almost fainted. Originally, they had a 50% chance. But now that the shield had appeared, there was no chance at all. The most important thing to reform his dantian was time. Long Fu did not speak. He stood there quietly. Even he did not expect this to happen. He did not know what was going on and did not know what to do. Quick, think of something. Bai Ling was very anxious. But things had already come to this point. What else could they do? On the giant rock, Longao lay there quietly as if he was dead. He did not move at all. His whole body was covered by the shield, emitting an extremely strong smell of blood. In Longao's body, the dantian that had just been shattered had already been completely occupied by his blood. Under normal circumstances, once the dantian was shattered, he would definitely die. Not to mention Longao, even if it was the heavenly Tao, if the dantian was shattered, he would also die. In the mysterious space, it was chaos. Longao stood quietly in the space. Looking at the gray haze all around, he was very curious. He didn't know where he was. Longao, your dantian is finally shattered. Now I will use the power of chaos to help you reform your dantian. I hope you can speed up your cultivation. Chaotic dantian? What is this? Who is talking to me? Who are you? Who I am is not important. What is important is who you are. Longao, I look forward to your growth. There are many things that you have to do. Before Longao could continue asking, he found that he could not speak. He slowly opened his eyes and looked at the three people in front of him. He asked curiously, "What are you guys doing?" Seeing Longao suddenly open his eyes, the three of them were shocked. They looked as if they had seen him before. "Young Master Long, are you okay?" Walking down from the giant rock, Longao stretched his body and said with a smile, "Of course I'm fine. Thank you for helping me break open my dantian." Until now, Longao did not know what had happened. Why would his shattered dantian be reformed for no reason? The other party seemed to have said something about a chaotic dantian. He did not know if a chaotic dantian was powerful or not. The three of them originally wanted to ask what had happened, but Longao obviously did not want to say. The three of them were also very tactful, and no one opened their mouths to ask. Long Fu returned to the dragon seal and re-entered the dantian. At this moment, the chaotic dantian that Longao had reassembled was no different from the previous dantian. Even Long Fu did not seem to have discovered the difference. Longao. Xiling, thank you for this time. But I have no comment. Xiling snorted and did not stay any longer. He returned to the Godslayer sword. Only Longao and Bai Ling were left in the courtyard. Chapter 1062. Young Master Long, are you really all right? Bai Ling was still a little worried. No matter what, she knew very well what it meant to have his dantian shattered. Not to mention Longao, even Tian Dao or other super experts would definitely die if their dantian was shattered. Just now, she and her sister were prepared to use the powerful sword chi to help Longao reform his dantian. In the end, they never expected that Longao would not only recover, but also reform his dantian. What was going on? Even Bai Ling was very curious. She wanted to know how Longao did it. How could Longao not know what Bai Ling was thinking? Even Long Fu and Xiling would not be able to hear the voice transmissions through spiritual awareness. Bai Ling, is there any way that we can be alone without your sister and Long Fu being able to hear or see us? Eh? She was very curious. She did not know what Longao wanted. However, Bai Ling trusted Longao very much. She lowered her head and thought for a moment. Then, she nodded and said through spiritual awareness, "Yes, don't resist." Before Longao could react, he was already enveloped by a white sword chi. His body disappeared from where he was. In a mysterious white sword chi space. "Young Master Long, this is my original sword chi space. Whether it's my sister or that person, they will not be able to see or hear us." What a powerful sword chi space. Bai Ling would not usually reveal her strength. However, Longao knew very well that Bai Ling's strength was very terrifying. Even Long Ditian and the others might not be able to fight against Bai Ling. However, Bai Ling was severely injured and could not recover to her peak strength. Bai Ling, when you and your sister were helping me reform my Dantian, I suddenly entered a mysterious space for some reason. Someone said a few words that I did not understand. Then my Dantian reformed. Young Master Long, tell me in detail. It was strange. Longao did not intend to tell Long Fu or Xiling about this. Among the three of them, he only chose Bai Ling Long Fu. Longao knew very well that if Long Fu and the primordial divine dragon were to be reborn, it was unknown who Long Fu would choose. Moreover, although Long Fu treated him as his master, if he was useless, would Long Fu still treat him like that? Without a doubt, Long Fu would choose to give up on him and look for his next target. Regarding this point, Longao was very uncomfortable. That was indeed the case. Longao had decided that there were some things that should be hidden. He had to change this point. A master was a master, and Long Fu had to obey. However, it was not an easy thing to do. Longao did not hide anything and told her everything that had happened. He did not even hide the fact that he had just formed his chaotic Dantian. After hearing this, Bai Ling's face was filled with shock. Young Master Long, although I have never seen your chaotic Dantian, I can tell you that your chaotic Dantian is probably the most powerful one in the world. Longao seemed to have guessed this point. He did not want to know this. As for the mysterious person who spoke to young Master Long, I don't know. However, he should be a very powerful person. Young Master Long, you must make good use of your chaotic Dantian. It can refine everything and increase your cultivation speed by more than 10 times. He sighed deeply. It was a waste of time to ask. He still did not know who the mysterious person was. Young Master Long, I know you really want to know what's going on, but I want to say something. What can you do even if you know now? It's better to cultivate peacefully. When you're strong enough, some things will naturally become clear. What do you think? You are right. Bai Ling, I hope that this matter will not be leaked out. Although she did not know what Longao meant, Bai Ling still nodded and agreed. The two left the Origin Sword Chi space. Immediately, Bai Ling turned into white light and returned to the god's slaying sword. Master! The corner of his mouth slowly curled into a cold smile. In response to Longao's call, Longao entered the dragon seal space and asked straightforwardly, Long Fu, what happened? At this moment, Long Fu did not seem to have any problems. Master, I want to ask you, how did you form your Dantian? Just as expected. The more Long Fu acted like this, the more cautious Longao was. Because no one knew when Long Fu would leave or find the next master. The current Longao was no longer the Longao of the past. Of course, Longao would not tell the truth. He just casually found an excuse to dodge the matter. From the beginning to the end, Long Fu did not have the slightest suspicion. Because all along, Long Fu thought that he had completely grasped Longao and called him master. Did Long Fu really treat Longao as his master? From one point alone. If Long Fu really treated Longao as his master, then he would not call him old master. After all, he only had one master, and that was Longao. Long Fu, do you have a way to raise my cultivation to the Black Grade Great Emperor realm at the fastest speed? Although the Purple Grade Great Emperor realm and the Black Grade Great Emperor realm were only one level apart, the strength of the two could not be compared. Longao was very anxious, especially when his family was in danger. If he did not rush back in time and use the 9 needles of God's sealing and the space-time wheel, his family would have been annihilated. The consequences would be unimaginable. Because of this, Longao really needed strength, no matter what method he had to use. Master, it's still the same. If you want to raise your strength quickly, you can only rely on your desolate saint physique to continuously absorb energy. However, if you do this, there will be a day when you will explode. Long Fu did not finish his words, but the meaning of his words was very clear. Longao did not continue asking. After leaving the dragon seal space, Longao did not go out. Instead, he called his grandfather and father over. "Ao, are you all right?" Shaking his head, Longao said with a smile, "I'm fine. It was just an accident." Seeing how Ao played it down, both Long Haosher and Long Yi knew very well that Ao must have something that he did not want to tell them. Since Ao did not want to say more, the two of them did not ask further. Ao's situation was different now. Some things should be asked, and some things should not be asked. "Grandfather, I have something to ask you. I hope you can answer me truthfully." Seeing how serious Ao was, Long Haosher and Long Yi were very surprised. Long Haosher nodded and said, "As long as I know, I will not hide it from you." "Ao, what happened?" Chapter 1063. The Mystery of His Birth. This time, Long Ao had survived a great calamity. He would definitely figure out who sealed the bloodline in his body. For some reason, Long Ao felt that something was amiss. A few years ago, he was just a trash from the Red Fire Town's Long family. No one cared about him. Who would be so bored as to come and seal the bloodline in his body? Not to mention, the other party was a super expert who had stepped onto the peak of martial arts. "Grandpa, the bloodline in my body has been sealed." Long Haosher and Long Yi didn't seem to have reacted. Both of them were at a loss. They didn't know what Long Ao meant. Long Ao did not hide the slightest bit, and spoke about the matter of the bloodline being sealed in full detail. After hearing it, Long Haosher and Long Yi were both shocked. A peak martial Dao expert sealed his bloodline? "Ao, what do you mean?" "Grandpa, there are only two people who have reached the peak of the martial Dao. One is Tian Dao, and the other is the clairvoyant." It was impossible for Tian Dao. As for the clairvoyant, Long Fu had already said that it was not him. Since there were not two people, he could not think of who sealed his bloodline. "Grandpa, it's impossible for Tian Dao and the clairvoyant. The secret is in the family, so I want to ask about the family." Long Haosher nodded. How could he not understand the meaning behind Ao's words? He felt helpless. Long Haosher did not know what had happened. As for the family secret, that was all he knew. Even so, he did not know who sealed Ao's bloodline. Long Haosher and Long Yi did not say anything. They looked at each other and saw a trace of helplessness and surprise in each other's eyes. Grandpa did not know. Father must not know either. Long Ao was very clear that in the family, there were only two people who were most likely to know the inside story. If they didn't know, then he really couldn't think of anyone else who could tell him what had happened. It seemed that he could not figure out the mystery of his birth for the time being. Old ancestor? After the old ancestor's reincarnation, he could only ask the old ancestor. He did not continue to dwell on this problem. The consequences of using the 9 needles sealing God and the space-time wheel were extremely terrifying. If he was not careful, he would lose his life. On a mountain not far from the dragon sect, in a hidden cave halfway up the mountain. Until now, Ling Mo and Gu Shuang were still scared. They did not dare to leave the cave for 3 days. As deity realm martial artists, they were scared away by Long Ao. If this matter were to spread out, where would their face be? When Long Ao entered the Long family, he was only a green-grade great emperor. No matter how fast his cultivation speed was, it was impossible for him to break through from the green-grade great emperor realm to the supreme Dao realm in just a few months. We did not succeed in destroying the dragon sect. We did not even kill Long Ao. If the great elder hears about this, how are we going to explain it? Ling Mo waved his hand. Ling Mian was not thinking about this. He was thinking about Long Ao's true strength. I can almost say that even a heavenly god realm martial artist would not be able to resist Long Ao's sword. It's too terrifying. If we go back now, we might be able to get some unexpected gains. Go back? Hearing her husband's words, Gu Shuang was shocked. Long Ao's strength was right there. Even if the two of them joined hands, they wouldn't dare to take a single strike from him. This time, if they were to make a comeback, they might not be able to return alive. Ling Mian knew that Gu Shuang was silent. In fact, Ling Mian was a little afraid. If they really went back, he might not dare to go back. What should he do? Let's go back to the family and report this matter to the Great Elder. I believe that the Great Elder will decide how to deal with it. Why do we have to get involved in this? Before Ling Mian could say anything, Gu Shuang continued. We do not have much hatred with Longao. It's just the Great Elder's order. If Longao is in trouble, we can kill Longao. If Longao is fine, we will not be able to return alive. Gu Shuang sighed deeply. I know that you are not convinced. However, I still feel that it is worth it for us to risk our lives for the Great Elder's personal grudge. Ling Mian knew what his wife meant. Though? Or not? You just said that we did not destroy the dragon sect and did not kill Longao. Once we go back, how are we going to explain it to the Great Elder? Ling Mian's face was gloomy. He did not expect the situation to change. Not only did they not destroy the dragon sect, they were almost killed by Longao. Both Ling Mian and Gu Shuang were well aware of the First Elder's personality. Once the First Elder found out that they had failed to complete the mission, even if they could avoid death, they would still be punished. At that time, it would be normal for them to be punished. They could neither advance nor retreat. For a moment, Ling Mian and Gu Shuang did not know what to do. In the cave, it was quiet. No one spoke. Under such circumstances, the two did not know what to say. What should we do? Ling Mian's face was very ugly because he really didn't know what the two of them should do. After thinking about it, Ling Mian sighed deeply and said helplessly, You are right. We don't have much enmity with Longao. It's just for the Great Elder's personal enmity. It's really not worth it to lose our lives. Gu Shuang was overjoyed when she heard Ling Mian's words. She was afraid that her husband would go back. If they were unlucky and Longao was fine, they would not be able to return. At that time, it would not be easy for them to leave even if they wanted to. This time, in order to escape, the two of them had forcefully used their bloodline and were severely injured. If they went back now, wouldn't they be courting death? Although we are not going back, we cannot go back to the family. Let's send a message to the Great Elder. Tell him that we will not give up until we kill Longao. I believe the Great Elder will agree. Okay. Gu Shuang knew what Ling Mian meant. If they went back to the family like this, they would definitely be punished. Instead of going back, they might as well stay and find a chance to kill Longao. At that time, they would make up for their mistakes. In this way, they would not be punished when they returned to the family. They might even be rewarded. P.S. Some people are really disgusting. When Little Nine was a little slow, they scolded him. Little Nine would like to ask, where were you when Little Nine went berserk? Did you give him a monthly vote? Tipped him once? Tomorrow, Little Nine will go berserk 10 times. Let's see if those people who scolded him will have the motivation to do so. Let's not talk about the Alliance leader, Hall leader, and protector. Can they do it? Chapter 1064. Tianwu Continent. Long family. Inside a secret chamber. Long Hang, who received the news, had an extremely gloomy expression on his face. It was as ugly as it could get. Long Hang had never thought that Longao would leave the Long family to return to Jiuzhou Continent to help his family. He should have thought of this earlier, but why did he miss it? In the end. From the beginning to the end, Long Hang had never put Longao in his eyes. How big could a mere purple-grade great emperor martial artist cause? What was the result? According to the news brought back by Ling Mian and Gu Shuang, Longao had killed 100 great emperor martial artists in one strike. Even the two of them had to leave with serious injuries. With Longao's strength, could he do that? According to the news brought back by Ling Mian, Longao must have used some kind of power to increase his strength. Otherwise, Longao would not be able to do that. Not to mention 2 supreme Dao martial artists, he might not even be able to win against a white-grade great emperor martial artist. What kind of secret skill was that? Long Hang cursed in his heart. He knew that he had not succeeded in destroying the dragon sect, nor did he kill Longao. Sooner or later, the news would spread. A mere Longao, would he even put him in his eyes? The problem now was that Longao had the support of the clan leader. If the clan leader spread the news, he would be in big trouble. That was right. No matter what happened, the clan leader must not hear about it. Long Heng did not continue to send people because he knew that the clan leader would notice Long Ao's sudden departure. It would be irrational to continue sending people out at this time. If Long Ao really used the secret skill, Lin Mian and Gu Shuang would be enough to take care of Long Ao. Again, Long Heng would not act rashly if he did not have full confidence. The situation in Jiuzhou continent was changing. There was only one big force in Jiuzhou continent. It was the branch of the Martial Artists Alliance, the so-called Serene Hell Mansion. Everyone knew that the Serene Hell Mansion was a branch of the Martial Artists Alliance. In the Jiuzhou continent, there were originally 4 clans. They were the East Royal City, the Long Clan of the West, the Netherworld Mansion of the South, and the Ethereal Palace of the North. Ever since the Nether Mansion gained the support of the Martial Artists Alliance, the other 3 families had surrendered without a fight. Right now, although the Long family and the Ethereal Palace still existed in the Imperial City, they followed the Nether Mansion's lead in everything. As the saying went, even if the Nether Mansion didn't exist, the strength of the Martial Artists Alliance had to be taken into account. Wei Yang, the strongest expert in the Nether Mansion, was also a supreme Dao warrior. Under normal circumstances, the Martial Artists Alliance would not intervene in the affairs of the 9 regions and leave it to the Serene Hades Mansion. Nether Mansion. The Nether Mansion's Mansion Master, Wei Mo, and the Supreme Divine Realm Cultivator, Wei Yang, sat at the head of the hall. They looked at the 2 people in front of them and asked, "May I know why you 2 have come to my Nether Mansion?" The 2 people were Ling Mian and Gu Shuang. Although the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family didn't have a big grudge against each other, the 2 families had always been fighting openly and secretly. Neither of them was willing to submit to the other. Moreover, the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family wouldn't contact each other unless it was under special circumstances. If they didn't have the Martial Artists Alliance as their backer, Wei Yang and Wei Mo would be afraid. However, neither Wei Mo nor Wei Yang had the slightest fear now. The 2 of them knew very well that the 9 States continent was already considered the territory of the Martial Art Alliance. Unless the Long family wanted to start a war between the 2 families, they would not be able to do anything. Ling Mian and Gu Shuang's purpose was simple. With just the strength of the 2 of them, they really didn't dare to kill their way back. Moreover, the Great Elder's intention had been delivered. He wouldn't send anyone over. Under such circumstances, the 2 of them had to rely on their own strength to deal with Long Ao and Long Zong. Ling Mian and Gu Shuang weren't fools. Since they had such a ready-made force, why not make use of it? They went straight to the point. "Wei Yang, Wei Mo, I know you've always had an enemy. To be honest, our enemy is the same. Why don't we work together to eliminate the Long Ao and the Dragon Sect? What do you think?" So that was it. In fact, Wei Yang and Wei Mo had already guessed their intentions. After all, the news that they went to the Dragon Sect and were almost killed had spread throughout the Jiuzhou continent. The Tianwu continent didn't know, but the Jiuzhou continent definitely knew. "You 2, I want to ask why I should help you. Because we have a common enemy." Gu Shuang smiled. Wei Yang's expression was strange. He didn't say anything. As for what he meant, no one knew. "Wei Yang, as long as the Dragon Sect exists, it's impossible for the Nether Mansion to dominate the Jiuzhou continent. And Long Ao, I don't need to say more about the grudge between you 2. When the Long Ao becomes stronger, will he let you go?" Wei Yang and Wei Mo still didn't say anything, but their expressions were very ugly. It was just as they had said. Everyone knew about the grudge between the Long Ao and the Nether Mansion. If the Long Ao really became stronger, would he let the Nether Mansion go? There was no doubt about it. "Wei Yang, no matter what grudge our Long family has with the Martial Artists Alliance, we only have one common enemy, and that is the Long Ao. Killing the Long Ao will benefit both of us and you. Furthermore, Our Long family's Grand Elder will also thank you. Grand Elder? Wei Yang and Wei Mo were shocked when they heard the Grand Elder. They naturally knew what the Grand Elder meant. Even the Grand Elder of the Long family was a lofty existence. If they could make the Grand Elder owe them a favor, it wouldn't be a bad thing. It would be a lie to say that they weren't happy. Wei Yang, that's all I have to say. Are you willing to help us deal with the Longao? Ling Mian and Gu Shuang retreated in order to advance. They didn't continue talking because they knew that if Wei Yang didn't want to help, it would be useless no matter how much they talked. If Wei Yang was willing to help, they believed that Wei Yang would agree even if they didn't stop here. The whole palace was quiet. Neither side said anything. Time passed by slowly. After an unknown amount of time, Wei Yang suddenly said, I can help you, but I have 2 conditions. The first condition is to destroy the dragon sect. No matter what it is, it will belong to us. The second condition is to let the Great Elder know about this. If you agree to my 2 conditions, I will agree to help you. How about it? Wei Yang's 2 conditions were reasonable. Even Ling Mian and Gu Shuang knew that. If it was too difficult, they couldn't make the decision. It seemed that Wei Yang also wanted to deal with the Longao. Since things had come to this point, Ling Mian didn't waste any more time. He nodded and said, We agree to both conditions. Chapter 1065 Jiuzhou Continent Dragon Sect. The news of Longao's safety had spread throughout the Dragon Sect. All of a sudden, the entire Dragon Sect was overjoyed. Everyone was overjoyed. However, at this moment, Long Haosher and the others had a solemn expression as they knew about the Nether Mansion's actions. The Nether Mansion was the true overlord of the Jiuzhou continent. Even the Dragon Sect could not go against them. In any case, the thousands of people in the Dragon Sect had yet to refine the Divine Tao inheritance and become Divine Tao martial artists. Aoer, I've received news that Ling Mian and Gu Shuang have found the Nether Mansion. Wei Yang has agreed to help them deal with us. Longao had unknowingly become the person in charge of the Dragon Sect. Nether Mansion. Longao knew more about the Nether Mansion than anyone else. Back then, he and the Nether Mansion had fought to the death. If it wasn't for his good luck, he might have been killed by the Nether Mansion. Aoer, what should we do now? Long Haosher's expression was solemn. Ling Mian and Gu Shuang were enough to give him a headache. Now that the Nether Mansion had joined in, could they deal with them? Grandfather, leave this to me. Aoer, are you confident? Even until now, Long Haosher still had lingering fears about Aoer's previous move. Even if the Dragon Sect was destroyed, he did not want his grandson to continue taking risks. Grandfather, don't worry. Since things had come to this, Long Haosher did not say anything more. In the afternoon, Longao got up and left the Dragon Sect, heading for the Nether Mansion. With his current speed, he would reach the Nether Mansion in 2 hours. Everyone knew about the grudge between Longao and the Serene Nether Mansion. It was almost impossible to enter the Serene Nether Mansion openly. Wei Yang, long time no see. How have you been? Wei Yang was the only one in the hall. Hearing the sudden voice, Wei Yang was not surprised at all, because he had already guessed that Longao would definitely come to find him. In the end, Longao was still wary of the Nether Mansion's strength. It was also because of this that Wei Yang was more and more certain that Longao had only used some kind of secret skill to annihilate more than 100 great emperor experts with one sword. It seemed that it was still impossible to contend against a supreme Tao expert. Wei Yang laughed inwardly. This was what he had been looking forward to the most. Longao had to die. That way, not only would he be able to eliminate a huge threat, he would also be able to sell a favor to the Long family's great elder. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Longao, since you're here, show yourself. Just as Wei Yang finished speaking, Longao had already appeared in the hall. Looking at the figure that suddenly appeared in front of him, Wei Yang smiled and asked, Longao, you know that I have formed an alliance with Cold Face and Lone Frost. Why are you still here? Wei Yang really couldn't figure it out. Was Longao not afraid of death? The purple-grayed great emperor realm. Wei Yang had sensed Longao's true strength in an instant. With this, Wei Yang became more confident. Wei Yang, I can say with certainty that you do not dare to help Lin Mian and Gu Shuang. Oh? Of course, Wei Yang wouldn't choose to believe Longao. In his opinion, why wouldn't he dare? Could it be that the other party was the alliance chief of the Martial Artists Alliance? In the end, Wei Yang didn't put Longao in his eyes at all. How could Longao not know about this? Without wasting any time, Longao decided to end the battle quickly. He took out a token from his bosom. The token was emitting a strange aura, which surrounded the entire token. Alliance Chief's token? Looking at the black token in Longao's hand, Wei Yang couldn't believe it. Wei Yang was the person in charge of the Serene Helm Mansion. At the same time, he was also a member of the Martial Artists Alliance. He was familiar with the Alliance Chief's token. Seeing the Alliance Chief's token was like seeing the Alliance Chief. Why would Longao have the Alliance Chief's token? Wei Yang couldn't figure it out. However, he knew very well what the Alliance Chief's token meant. He didn't dare to be careless. He immediately knelt down and saluted the Alliance Chief's token. Then, he stood up and asked, Longao, where did you get this token? Why don't you guess? Guess? Seek your guess. If Longao didn't suddenly take out the Alliance Chief's token, Wei Yang would have already attacked him. However, Wei Yang didn't dare to act rashly in front of the Alliance Chief's token. If Longao really knew the Alliance Chief, he would be in big trouble. Attacking the Alliance Chief's token was equivalent to attacking the Alliance Chief. If the Martial Artists Alliance knew about this, it would be terrible. Because of this, Wei Yang knew very well that his most important goal now was to figure out where Longao got the Alliance Chief's token. Longao, let me ask you again. Where did you get the Alliance Chief's token? Shaking his head, Longao smiled. A few months ago, when I was in the Martial Artists Alliance, the Alliance Chief personally handed this token to me. He also said that no matter what, as long as I take out this token, I can mobilize the power of any branch of the Martial Artists Alliance. Wei Yang, let me ask you now. Is the Serene Hades Mansion a branch of the Martial Artists Alliance? Yes. Wei Yang didn't dare to say this out loud. Unless he was tired of living, he and the Serene Hades Mansion would be doomed if the Martial Artists Alliance knew about this. Wei Yang didn't want to believe Longao's words. However, one could never be too careful. What if what Longao said was true? Longao, what do you want? After thinking for a while, Wei Yang still didn't want to take the risk. In the end, he could only choose to compromise. If Longao really knew the Alliance Chief, then he could use Longao to climb up. Wei Yang didn't want to take the risk for the grudge between them. Wei Yang wasn't stupid. He knew that since the Alliance Chief gave the Alliance Chief's token to Longao, it meant that the relationship between Longao and the Alliance Chief was special. If he could get on the good side of Longao, then wouldn't he be able to climb up the Alliance Chief's tree? The Alliance Chief was the highest existence in the Martial Artists Alliance. Wei Yang, let's be frank. Let's work together to get rid of Cold Face and Gu Shuang. We can't do that. The Serene Hades Mansion is a branch of the Martial Artists Alliance. I believe you already know that. If we go against Cold Face and Gu Shuang, won't we be declaring war on the Long family? If that's the case, then I'll be in big trouble. Longao, I can only promise you that the Serene Hades Mansion won't interfere in your grudge. What do you think? Shameless, Wei Yang was shameless to the core. Longao ignored Wei Yang. His purpose here was to use the Serene Hades Mansion to deal with Cold Face and Gu Shuang. With his strength and the Dragon Sex's power, it was impossible to kill Cold Face and Gu Shuang. Previously, he had killed hundreds of great emperors and scared away 2 divine realm martial artists with one sword. He had only used the power of the 9 divine needles to kill Cold Face and Gu Shuang. If he didn't use it when there was a ready-made one, he would have to be crazy. Chapter 1066. Wei Yang, the last sentence, yes or no? Longao did not say anything else. Seeing that Wei Yang was silent, Longao turned around and was ready to leave. Longao sneered in his heart. He was sure that Wei Yang would agree. After all, he had the chief token in his hand. As expected. Longao, wait. Wei Yang, I don't have time to wait for you. Wei Yang's face was ghastly pale. He wanted to cut Lin Fan into pieces. However, Lin Fan had the chief token, and he did not dare to do so. Longao, I agree. Longao laughed in his heart. However, his face was calm. He turned around and said with a smile, Wei Yang, I will remember your help today. I will return it to you in the future. Wei Yang waved his hand in annoyance. Longao, cut the crap. What do you want me to do? Longao smiled and did not waste any more time. He said, Wei Yang, with your strength, how confident are you in killing Ling Mian and Gu Shuang in a 1 versus 2 situation? They were both empty gods. However, there were also strong and weak virtual gods. Longao was very clear about this. Longao, if it was 1-on-1, I might be able to kill one of them. However, I can't kill both of them at the same time. Forgive me for being powerless. Wei Yang wasn't lying about this. Longao did not doubt him. Before coming, Longao had thought about it. He could not let Wei Yang fight Ling Mian and Gu Shuang at the same time. Even if he was willing, he believed that Wei Yang would not agree. Wei Yang, you deal with Gu Shuang. I will deal with Ling Mian. What do you think? Eh? He was surprised because Wei Yang did not think that Lin Fan could do it. Ling Mian was a supreme Dao martial artist. Even if he was only a nihility god martial artist, he was not someone Longao could contend against. After all, the difference between a supreme Dao martial artist and a great emperor martial artist was too great. They could not be compared. Looking at Wei Yang's expression, Longao already knew what Wei Yang was thinking. It wasn't just Wei Yang who didn't believe it. If it were anyone else, they wouldn't believe it either. Longao, I agree. Wei Yang and Longao had reached an agreement. Strictly speaking, Wei Yang had only agreed because of the alliance leader token in Longao's hands. Longao didn't leave the Nether Mansion. According to Longao's plan, he would kill Ling Mian and Gu Shuang in the Serene Hell Mansion. That way, even if the matter was exposed in the future, the Long family would not blame him. As for Long Hang, whether he knew or not, it was all the same. Longao knew that with his current strength, he couldn't compete with the entire Long family. In the beginning, Wei Yang didn't agree at all. After all, if this matter was exposed, especially to the Long family's great elder, the consequences would be unimaginable. Would the Martial Artists Alliance really go to war with the Long family for him? If this matter was exposed, the first one to suffer would be him. However, Longao had the Alliance Leader token in his hands. Wei Yang had no choice but to agree. However, to prevent this matter from being exposed, Wei Yang sealed the news. Only a few people knew about this matter. Moreover, Wei Yang had already told them that if this matter was exposed, no matter who it was, they would be killed without mercy. The next day, the dawn of the morning shone on the land. Wei Yang had personally invited Ling Mian and Gu Shuang. From the beginning to the end, Ling Mian and Gu Shuang had never thought that Wei Yang would stab them in the back. Otherwise, they wouldn't have dared to come. Stepping into the Serene Hell Mansion. Inside the Serene Hell Mansion. Wei Yang, since you've invited us here in such a hurry, do you have a way to deal with Longao? Although they had joined forces, Ling Mian and Gu Shuang still didn't dare to go to the dragon sect casually. The sword attack that Longao had unleashed was too powerful. They still had lingering fears. That was why Ling Mian and Gu Shuang had been thinking of ways to deal with Longao. To be honest, I've already thought of a way to deal with Longao. They were surprised. Ling Mian and Gu Shuang were pleasantly surprised. The two of them asked at the same time, "What is it?" "It's simple. According to what you said before, Longao used a powerful secret skill to kill hundreds of great emperors in an instant. Even the two of you can't fight against him. If we force our way in, Longao will take us down with him. Even if we kill Longao, what's the point? How could Ling Mian and Gu Shuang not know about this? It was because of Longao's secret skill that they didn't dare to go. Longao's shocking sword attack was too terrifying. If it weren't for the fact that they had to detonate their bloodline, it would be impossible for them to leave. Wei Yang, what is it? Let me tell you a piece of good news. I've successfully lured Longao into the serene underworld mansion. Ah? Both Ling Mian and Gu Shuang were shocked when they heard Wei Yang's words. They had never thought that Longao would be in the serene underworld mansion. They were curious about how Wei Yang managed to lure Longao here. Ling Mian and Gu Shuang were sly old foxes. They instantly became alert. Based on the grudge between the serene underworld mansion and Longao, it was impossible for Longao to enter the serene underworld mansion unless Longao was out of his mind. A sheep entering a tiger's den would only lead to death. Wei Yang, I want to ask, how did you lure Longao here? Wei Yang knew that they were on guard when he saw Ling Mian and Gu Shuang's expressions. However, Wei Yang didn't seem surprised at all. He acted as if nothing had happened and said, "You don't believe me?" Without giving the two of them any chance to speak, Wei Yang continued, "Since you two don't believe me, why do you still want to join hands with me? You're really taking off your pants to fart." What an unnecessary move. I'll go and let Longao leave now. They were shocked. The two of them secretly cursed themselves. The enmity between the Nether Mansion and Longao was there. Wei Yang wouldn't choose to go against the two of them for an enemy. Not to mention, there was still the Great Elder behind them. Would Wei Yang dare to offend the Great Elder? Although Wei Yang belonged to the Martial Artists Alliance, the Great Elder could kill Wei Yang in a matter of minutes. They both knew this, and they believed that Wei Yang also knew this. Unless Wei Yang was reckless, he wouldn't help Longao and choose to go against them and the Great Elder. "Brother Wei Yang, please calm down. We're just asking. We're really curious. With the grudge between you and Longao, we really want to know how you managed to lure Longao to the serene underworld mansion." Ling Mian and Gu Shuang had already let down their guard. They thought it was impossible. Chapter 1067. He sneered. At this point, Wei Yang had decided to deal with Ling Mian and Gu Shuang. The Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family, the Alliance Chief and the Great Elder. In the end, Wei Yang chose the Martial Artists Alliance and the Alliance Chief instead of the Long family and the Great Elder. In Wei Yang's opinion, even if he killed Ling Mian and Gu Shuang, who would know? He just had to eliminate the source of the problem. As long as he kept the news a secret, he believed that the Long family would definitely blame it on Longao. At that time, the Long family would eliminate Longao and he would have nothing to lose. That was exactly the case. Wei Yang casually found a reason to fool the two of them. As for Ling Mian and Gu Shuang, they believed it too. They still did not believe that Wei Yang would team up with Longao to trick them. No one would believe it, let alone the two of them. Longao's move was to give them a taste of their own medicine. It was too ruthless. Wei Yang, if that's the case, what are we waiting for? I don't believe that Longao won't be able to use his secret skill with the three of us working together. In the end, Ling Mian and Gu Shuang were still wary of Longao's secret skill. Especially the terrifying power of that sword. Ling Mian and Gu Shuang had already thought of a countermeasure. Even if Longao's secret skill was powerful, they believed that they would be able to kill him with a sneak attack. If Ling Mian and Gu Shuang knew about this, they would be ridiculed. Three Supreme Dao martial artists working together to deal with a small purple-grade Great Emperor martial artist. No one in the world would be able to do such a thing. The gap between the Supreme Dao realm and the Great Emperor realm was an insurmountable gap. Even in a one-on-one situation, a Great Emperor martial artist would not be able to defeat a Supreme Dao martial artist. Ling Mian, Gu Shuang, the three of us can't attack from the same direction. Why is that? It's very simple. Although Longao's strength isn't that great, he's too cunning. No one knows how many secrets Longao has. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We can't afford to miss it. Otherwise, we'll be letting the tiger return to the mountain. Ling Mian and Gu Shuang nodded in agreement. So, let's attack Longao from 3 different directions at the same time. I don't believe that Longao won't die. Alright. Ling Mian and Gu Shuang agreed without hesitation. Just as Wei Yang had said, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. No matter what happened, they could not miss this opportunity. Otherwise, if they let the tiger return to the mountain, it would be even more difficult to find such an opportunity in the future. Wei Yang, Ling Mian, and Gu Shuang walked towards the courtyard of the Serene Hell Mansion. Perhaps Ling Mian and Gu Shuang were too excited, they did not notice it at all. Under normal circumstances, as the branch of the Martial Artists Alliance and the overlord of the Jiuzhou continent, the Serene Hell Mansion would not be so quiet. Along the way, they did not even see a ghost, let alone a person. But now, the 3 of them did not see a single person along the way. If it was under normal circumstances, Ling Mian and Gu Shuang would have noticed that something was wrong. In the courtyard, Longao was indeed there. However, it was an illusion created by his aura. If they did not observe him closely, they would not be able to sense it. He's really here. Looking at Longao, who was sitting in the courtyard, Ling Mian and Gu Shuang had already confirmed it. They were pleasantly surprised because the 2 of them knew that Longao did not have the slightest bit of vigilance at this moment. It was also the best opportunity to attack. If they missed it, it would be almost impossible to find such an opportunity in the future. Let's attack. Ling Mian and Gu Shuang nodded. At this moment, Ling Mian and Gu Shuang suddenly rushed out. As for Wei Yang, he did not move. This is not good. Let's retreat. Seeing that Wei Yang did not attack, Ling Mian and Gu Shuang realized that something was wrong. Until now, the 2 of them could not figure out why Longao and Wei Yang would team up. But one had to know. The 2 of them had a life-and-death feud. This was known by the entire Jiuzhou continent. No matter who it was that teamed up with Longao, it should not be Wei Yang. This was too crazy. Longao alone was enough to make the 2 of them wary. Now that Wei Yang was added to the mix, the 2 of them were even more annoyed. Not daring to be careless, the 2 of them turned around and prepared to leave. In the end, the 2 of them entered a gray space. One of them, could not see each other. This was the illusion array that Longao had set up. At this moment, Ling Mian and Gu Shuang were extremely shocked. Although the 2 of them were not array masters, they had some understanding of arrays. The 2 of them were almost certain that they had entered an illusion array. Moreover, the 2 of them had already guessed that Wei Yang and Longao had teamed up. Although the 2 of them were shocked, they did not dare to hesitate and immediately started to break the array. Outside the illusion array, Wei Yang, the 2 illusion arrays that I have set up can only trap the 2 of them for a while. It cannot trap them forever. Hence, according to our previous agreement, each of us will deal with one of them. Wei Yang was very surprised. This was because he did not expect Longao's array skills to be so powerful. Since things had already developed to this stage, Wei Yang knew that he could not refuse. He nodded and immediately entered the illusion array. According to their previous agreement, Wei Yang would deal with Gu Shuang. The remaining one, Ling Mian, would be dealt with by Longao. Seeing that Wei Yang had entered the illusion array, Longao did not open it at all. He also entered the illusion array. Each of them would deal with one of them. In the illusion array, looking at Longao who had suddenly appeared, Ling Mian's face was extremely gloomy. It was as ugly as it could be because he already knew what had happened. He coldly said, "Longao, I can't help but admire you. You can actually connect with Wei Yang. However, I am very curious. With the grudge between you and Wei Yang, how did you do it?" Until now, Ling Mian still did not know what had happened. This was because he still could not figure out how Longao had managed to contact Wei Yang based on the grudge between Longao and Wei Yang. No matter how he thought about it, Lin Mian could not figure out what benefits this would bring to Wei Yang. Ling Mian, do you really want to know? Nonsense. Ling Mian stared at him fiercely. In his heart, he thought, if I don't want to know, why would I ask you? Guess. Longao, I guess your sister. Hearing that Longao wanted him to guess, Lin Mian almost collapsed. He had seen shameless people before, but he had never seen someone as shameless as Longao. Lin Fan was simply shameless to the extreme. However, things had already developed to this stage. It would be a lie if Ling Mian said that he was not afraid. After all, Longao's shocking sword was still vivid in his mind. He could not forget it. Chapter 1068. Longao, you and I don't have any grudges. Are you willing to admit this? Longao didn't say anything. I'm doing this because of the Great Elder's orders. Longao still didn't say anything. Longao also wanted to hear what Lin Mian wanted to say. Longao, let's end this here. My wife and I will return to the family immediately. From now on, we won't step foot in the 9 provinces continent. How about that? The shocking sword was unparalleled. Just thinking about it made them feel scared. If they hadn't detonated their bloodline to escape, they would have died on Longao's peak. Afraid of death. Ling Mian had always been afraid of death. Because of this, Ling Mian chose to compromise in the end. Would Longao agree? Ling Mian, do you know my bottom line? Ling Mian didn't answer because he didn't know what Longao meant by asking this. Bottom line? My bottom line is my family. No matter what grudges you have with me, I can let you go. But if you touch my family, I won't tolerate it. You touched my bottom line, so you must die. This was Longao's bottom line. For his family, even if he had to die, Longao wouldn't hesitate. Hearing this, Ling Mian was furious. As a supreme Dao martial artist, he was being pressured by a great emperor martial artist. If this matter were to spread, where would his face go? Even if it was for his life, he would completely lose the face of a supreme Dao martial artist by compromising like this. Longao, you've gone too far. I'd like to see how you're going to kill me today. Since he was going to die anyway, Lin Mian was going to throw caution to the wind. He didn't continue to talk nonsense and rushed out. Before he arrived, his terrifying aura had already arrived first. Ling Mian's intention was very simple. He wanted to end the battle quickly. It was still the same sentence. Ling Mian was very wary of Longao's secret technique. If Longao was crazy and really used the secret technique, wouldn't he die without a doubt? Because of this, Ling Mian did not intend to give Longao any chance. He planned to use his aura to suppress Longao and then kill him in one strike, not giving Longao any chance to retaliate. How could Longao not know the meaning of cold face? Aura suppression? If they were to fight using their true strength, Longao might be afraid. Wanting to suppress him with his aura? Dream on! Longao immediately released a powerful sword aura. It had already fused with the aura of heaven and earth, as well as various ultimate skills. At this moment, the sword aura was extremely terrifying. Ling Mian originally thought that he could rely on his aura to suppress his opponent, and then kill him in one strike. However, he never expected that the aura he released would be suppressed by Longao's sword. He was startled. However, they had already reached this point. Could it be that they had to forcefully withdraw? Just like this, Ling Mian braced himself and attacked fiercely. In the blink of an eye, the two of them were already engaged in a fierce battle. With the help of his aura suppression, Longao really gave Ling Mian a show of strength at the beginning. Ling Mian was especially wary of him. In this way, within the first 10 moves, Longao pressed on, and Ling Mian did not retreat. However, the gap was still a gap, especially in terms of cultivation realm. Other things could not make up for it. Ling Mian was a supreme Dao warrior, while Longao was only a purple-grade great emperor. The gap between the two was too big. He could barely withstand the first 10 moves, but after the 10th move, Longao began to falter. If it was not for his spatial teleportation, he would have died long ago. Ling Mian was instantly delighted. Ling Mian knew very well that as long as Longao did not use his secret technique, it was almost impossible for him to kill him. It seemed that Longao was also very afraid of the backlash of the secret technique. Therefore, the more it was like this, the more he wanted to end the battle quickly. He could not waste any more time. Otherwise, once Longao used the secret technique, would he be able to withstand it? Ling Mian disappeared. In the dragon seal space. Long Fu, didn't you just say that you have a way to help me get rid of Ling Mian? On Gu Shuang's side, Longao was not worried at all. According to Wei Yang's strength, it should be impossible for him to fight against two people at the same time. However, in a one-on-one situation, it should not be difficult for Wei Yang to kill Gu Shuang. Therefore, as long as Wei Yang still wanted to stay in the Martial Artists Alliance, he would definitely kill Gu Shuang. After all, he had the Alliance leader's token. If Gu Shuang was not worried, then what about Ling Mian? With his strength, he could only kill Ling Mian if he used the 9 Needles Sealing Spirit. However, Longao did not dare to continue using the 9 Needles Sealing Spirit. Previously, he forcefully used the 9 Needles Sealing Spirit and shattered his Dantian. If it was not for a mysterious force that helped him to reform his Dantian, he would have died by now. Master, my method is very simple. Stall for time. Stall for time? Longao was not an idiot. He immediately understood what Long Fu meant. It was nothing more than stalling for time. After Wei Yang killed Gu Shuang, he would use Wei Yang's strength to deal with Ling Mian. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. According to the current situation, Longao knew that Long Fu's method was the only and best way. It was too difficult to kill Ling Mian. In the end, Longao chose Long Fu's method. Stall for time and use Wei Yang to kill Ling Mian. Longao did not continue attacking. As for Ling Mian, seeing that Longao had suddenly disappeared, he did not hesitate and immediately started to break the formation. With the power of the illusion formation, it was impossible to trap Ling Mian for a long time. At most, it would only last for a few minutes. However, this was enough. With Wei Yang's strength, it was more than enough to kill Gu Shuang in a few minutes. When Ling Mian broke the formation, he was shocked to see a black shadow in front of him. Longao, don't play tricks with me. Ling Mian seemed to be very afraid of Longao. When he saw the black shadow flashing, he directly slapped it. With this slap, the black shadow was instantly split into pieces. Ah! Ling Mian knew what he had just done. He had just killed his wife. Looking at Longao and Wei Yang in front of him, Ling Mian almost broke down. Longao was the first person to be able to force a Supreme Dao warrior into such a state. Longao. Waving his hand, Longao did not want to listen to his nonsense. He said coldly, Ling Mian, as the saying goes, the winner is the king and the loser is the bandit. If I had not returned in time, I believe that my family would have been destroyed by you. Now you have killed your wife with your own hands. If I were you, I would immediately commit suicide to accompany her. Ling Mian did not know, but Longao and Wei Yang did. Gu Shuang was already dead. He was killed by Wei Yang. However, Longao wanted to use Gu Shuang's death to deal a blow to Ling Mian. In this way, Ling Mian, who was originally able to use 10% of his strength, would not even be able to use 70% of his strength now. This was a problem with his state of mind. Longao was using his state of mind to kill Ling Mian. Chapter 1069. Longao, you killed my wife. If I don't kill you, I swear I'm not a human. He shook his head. Longao looked at him with disdain and said sarcastically, I killed your wife? Ling Mian, are you afraid to face the truth and refuse to admit it? Ah! Ling Mian could not take it and roared. Following which, Ling Mian charged towards Longao. Longao did not make a move. The one who made a move was Wei Yang. This was something that Longao had already decided to make use of Wei Yang's strength to kill Ling Mian. In the blink of an eye, Wei Yang and Ling Mian were engaged in battle. Both Wei Yang and Ling Mian were in the empty god realm. However, Wei Yang was a peak empty god while Ling Mian was a high empty god. There was a difference of one level between the two of them. Longao did not make a move. He stood at his original position and watched the battle. He had to admit that Ling Mian was very powerful. Even with Wei Yang's strength, it would take some time for him to kill Ling Mian. However, Gu Xuan was only a middle-level illusionary divine dream master and was much weaker than Ling Mian. Long Fu, are you done? Master, was it worth it? Longao did not reply. To him, it was worth it. Longao's intention was simple. He wanted to make Gu Xuan his soul slave. Although the soul slave did not have the strength of a god, Longao only wanted to scare Ling Mian. Swoosh! Lone Frost, who had just been killed, suddenly appeared. It was easy to imagine how much shock this caused to Ling Mian. Before Ling Mian could react, Wei Yang's fist landed on Wei Yang's body and killed him. Wei Yang was ruthless enough to not even leave Ling Mian's soul behind. At this moment, Ling Mian and Gu Xuan were both killed. From the beginning to the end, only a few minutes had passed. Looking at the two corpses on the ground, Longao did not laugh. Neither did he heave a sigh of relief. Longao knew that even if he killed Ling Mian and Gu Xuan, what could he do? To put it bluntly, whether it was Cold Face or Lone Frost, they were just puppets. They were just puppets of Great Elder Longhang. As long as Longhang didn't die, there would be endless trouble. Longao was not very worried about his own safety. The only thing he was worried about was the dragon sect behind him. After all, it was impossible for him to return in time every time. Taking a step back. Even if he could make it back in time every time, Longao couldn't guarantee that he would be able to save the dragon sect every time. No matter what, Ling Mian and Gu Xuan were dead this time. If there were no accidents, Longhang would definitely send more powerful warriors next time. If that was the case, the safety of Dragon Sect could not be guaranteed. Longao, I've already done my part. I hope this matter won't be leaked. He sneered in his heart. Regarding Wei Yang's meaning, how could Longao not know? Others might not know, but it was impossible for him and Wei Yan not to know that Ling Mian and Gu Xuan were actually the Great Elder's lackeys. Once the two of them died and this matter was leaked, would Longhang let it go? Wei Yang, we'll talk about the grudge between us in the future. However, I hope that we can settle it ourselves. I've already said that the Dragon Sect is my bottom line. If you touch my bottom line, no matter who it is, I'll destroy them. F***ck off. Wei Yang didn't care about Longao at all. If it wasn't for the Alliance Master Token in Longao's hands, would Wei Yang be so obedient? Longao, you have the Alliance Master Token in your hands. We can't be enemies in the future. I hope we can be friends. I'm a straightforward person. If you have something to say, say it. Without giving Longao any chance to speak, Wei Yang continued. If I'm not wrong, your relationship with the Alliance Master should be pretty good. I hope you can put in a few good words for me in front of the Alliance Master. I don't want to stay in the 9 states anymore. What do you think? Longao didn't say anything. He turned around and left. As for whether he agreed, Wei Yang didn't know at all. Looking at the figure that was already gradually disappearing, Wei Yang's expression was extremely ugly as he muttered to himself. Longao, one day, I will make your life worse than death. Even the heavens won't hear your cries and the earth won't respond. The next day after Ling Mian and Gu Xuan were killed, the news was sent back to the Martial Artists Alliance. It wasn't sent back to the Alliance Master or anyone else, but to He Sha. He Sha's strength was unfathomable. He had a very close relationship with Hades. He Sha was also Wei Yang's master. Because of this, Wei Yang didn't tell anyone about this. He only told He Sha because he wanted to know what was going on with the Alliance Master Token in Longao's hands. Wei Yang had made up his mind. If the Alliance Master token in Longao's hands was truly given to him by the Alliance Master, then the enmity between them would be written off. He would also do his best to mend his relationship with Longao. If the Alliance Master token in Longao's hands was fake and Longao had obtained it from somewhere else, then no matter what, he would kill Longao. Even if it was for the Nether Mansion, it could be considered as killing him to silence him. Lei Luo, a deity, could be considered He Sha's subordinate. Lei Luo had come to the 9 Provinces continent on behalf of the Martial Artists Alliance to help the Nether Mansion deal with the other 3 superpowers. However, Lei Luo's strength was there for all to see. He was only going to help. Once he was done, he would immediately return to the Martial Artists Alliance. 9 Provinces continent. Nether Mansion main hall. Big brother Lei Luo, why are you here? Seeing Lei Luo, Wei Yang was a little shocked. He had never imagined that his master would send Lei Luo here. It had to be known that among his many subordinates, Lei Luo was the one his master valued the most. Wei Yang, the Lord sent me here mainly for Longao. Tell me, what's going on? Seeing how serious Lei Luo was, Wei Yang didn't dare to hesitate. He immediately told Lei Luo everything that had happened, especially the Alliance Master token in Longao's hands. After hearing everything, Lei Luo's expression became extremely ugly. After thinking for a while, Lei Luo said curiously, Longao has never been to the Martial Artists Alliance. As for whether Longao knows the Alliance Master, let alone me, even the Lord can't be sure. Big brother Lei Luo, since that's the case, what should we do now? The Lord's intention is very simple. Let's wait and see. With the Alliance Master's strength, it's impossible for anyone to snatch the Alliance Master token from him. Therefore, we can't be sure whether the Alliance Master token in Longao's hands is related to the Alliance Master. Lei Luo was also very surprised. He didn't know what to do because it was better to be safe than sorry. If the Alliance Master token in Longao's hands was really given by the Alliance Master, then wouldn't his side be in a passive position? It was also because of this that He Sha had repeatedly told him to wait and see. Chapter 1070. Let's wait and see. Wei Yang let out a deep sigh. It seemed that even his master was afraid of Longao. However, it made sense. No matter what, the Alliance Chief token in Longao's hand represented the Alliance Chief's personal arrival. Not to mention his master, even if someone of a higher level in the Martial Artist Alliance came, they would still be afraid. That was the power of the Alliance Master token. After killing Ling Nian and Gu Shuang, Longao left the Serene Ghost Mansion and returned to the Dragon Sect immediately. Longao Peak. As soon as Longao returned, Long Haosher asked impatiently, Aoa, how did it go? Long Haosher was afraid of Ling Nian and Gu Shuang. No matter what, they were both divine path martial artists. As long as they were alive, they would be a big threat to the Dragon Sect. How could Longao not know about his grandfather's fear? Grandpa, Ling Nian and Gu Shuang are dead. Dead? Hearing Aoa's words, Long Haosher was overjoyed. As for how Aoa did it, Long Haosher didn't ask. He knew that if Aoa didn't want to say, even if he asked, it would be useless. Aoa, Grandpa wants to ask you something. I hope you can answer me truthfully. Grandpa, please ask. In fact, Longao had guessed what his grandfather wanted to ask. As expected. Aoa, did you have a conflict with Long Heng when you went to the Long family? It seemed that his grandfather already knew about it. In that case, there was no point in keeping it a secret. In the following time, Longao recounted the matter between him and Long Heng in full detail, automatically omitting the dangers involved. His grandson described it so casually, but Long Haosher knew that it must have been dangerous. However, Long Haosher did not ask. Aoa, Long Heng's strength and identity are obvious. Now that you have offended him, have you thought about how you will deal with him? Long Heng was the great elder of the Long family. Just as Long Haosher said, Long Heng's strength and identity were obvious. Even if Sun Tzu and the Dragon Sect were involved, it would be nonsense. What should he do? Longao really didn't know what to do. If it were an ordinary person, he would still have full confidence. However, Long Heng's status and strength were a little too strong. It seemed a little unrealistic to want to deal with Long Heng in a short time. Aor, Grandpa knows what you're thinking. But sometimes you have to restrain yourself. It's not a good thing to show off too much. Do you understand what Grandpa is saying? Nodding, Longao replied. Grandfather, I understand. He was showing off too much. Back then, Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon had tried to challenge the heavenly Das. In the end, they had been killed by the heavenly Das. They hadn't even had a chance. Longao was almost certain that if Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon were able to restrain themselves and find an opportunity to absorb the power of origin to reach the peak of the martial Tao, then even defeating the heavenly Tao would not be impossible. Aor, Grandpa believes in you. There's one more thing. The old ancestor has been in the cycle of reincarnation for such a long time. Do you know when the old ancestor will successfully reincarnate? Ancestor? Longao had been paying attention to the old ancestor's situation. He wanted to find the old ancestor as soon as possible. Previously, Long Batian had said that his reincarnation this time could be said to be a narrow escape. If he was not careful, he would fail the reincarnation and fall into eternal damnation. Reincarnation was like that. The more times one went through, the greater the danger. Long Batian had already reincarnated 7 times. It was needless to say how dangerous it was. Before Long Batian entered the cycle of reincarnation, he had already told Longao that once the reincarnation was successful, he would give him a hint. At that time, Longao would look for the old ancestor's traces and help Long Batian be reborn. There was no hint, which meant that the old ancestor had not successfully reincarnated. Whether he was dead or alive was still unknown. In addition, Longao had always wanted to find out the mystery of his birth. Originally, he wanted to use this opportunity to return to find out what was going on. Unfortunately, his grandfather and father did not know. After thinking for a long time, Longao could only think of the old ancestor, Long Batian. Longao even suspected that the old ancestor definitely knew about this matter. Otherwise, then the matter of the bloodline in his body being sealed would really not be known by anyone. However, it was still unknown when the old ancestor would be reborn. That was right. Longao had already thought about it. This time, after settling the sex matter and the Long family's matter, he would continue to go to the outer sea to find the clairvoyant and ask him about his bloodline being sealed. Longao was very clear that the clairvoyant's Tao of divination was very powerful. As long as the clairvoyant was willing to tell him, it would save him a lot of trouble. Grandfather, I will settle the old ancestor's matter. The problem now is that we have to think of a way to resist these foreign enemies. Longao was a little speechless about formations. Longao was very clear that if his formation Tao could reach the next level, then the formation that he set up would be able to kill even supreme Tao warriors, such as Ling Mian, Gu Xuan, or Wei Yang, let alone great Emperor realm warriors. Formation Masters were ranked from lowest to highest: Level 1 Formation Master, Level 2 Formation Master, Level 3 Formation Master, Level 4 Formation Master, Level 5 Formation Master, Level 6 Formation Master, Level 7 Formation Master, Level 8 Formation Master, Level 9 Formation Master, Level 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 Formation Master, and Level Formation Master. Among the Array Masters, a God-level Array Master was the pinnacle of existence. Longao's Array Tao had reached the peak of the level of Level Formation Master. He was only one step away from becoming a Level Formation Master. However, the last step was a little difficult. Moreover, there was still the God-level Formation Master, which was even more difficult. Longao nodded. He was very clear about his grandson's worries. After thinking for a while, he said, "The dragon sect cannot be hidden forever. Once Longhang finds out that Ling Mian and Gu Shuang were killed, he will not let it go. If nothing goes wrong, I believe Longhang will send more powerful warriors. At that time, it will be more difficult for us to deal with them. Longao was afraid of this. No matter what, he could not use the 9-needles sealing god every time, and he could not rely on the power of the Martial Artists Alliance every time. Some methods might work the first time, but they might not work the second time. After all, the other party was not stupid and would not let you use him every time. Moreover, Wei Yang was not stupid. He was an old fox. What should I do? Grandfather, what do you think we should do now? As the saying goes, the older the ginger, the spicier it is. Longhao had lived for so many years. His experience were all there. This was not something that Longao could casually compare with. Longao was very clear about this point. P.S. I woke up at 4:30 in the morning. I will send out the first 7 chapters. Xiao Jiu will go and rest for a while. As for the remaining 3 chapters, Xiao Jiu will try to hurry up. Don't rush me. I hope you have votes in your hands. Chapter 1071. Longhao lowered his head and fell into deep thought. No matter what, Longhang was still the grand elder of the Long family. His strength and status were there for all to see. It was really not an easy thing to deal with Longhang. Ling Mian and Gu Shuang had already been killed. In the short term, their deaths wouldn't cause any commotion. However, as time passed, Longhang would definitely know. Even so, Longhang was still unwilling to believe that Longao could kill Ling Mian and Gu Shuang. It was just as Longhang had guessed. Ever since Longao left the Long family, Long Ditian had been keeping a close eye on him. If he made a move now, wouldn't he be giving the Patriarch something to use against him? Longhang had always been cautious. If he wasn't confident, he wouldn't take the risk. With the death of Ling Mian and Gu Shuang, peace returned to the 9 prefectures continent for the time being. The Nether Mansion was still the overlord of the 9 prefectures continent. As for the Dragon Sect, they didn't care about the matters of the 9 prefectures continent, as if it had nothing to do with them. Others didn't know that the only thing the Dragon Sect was doing now was to refine the Divine Tao inheritance as fast as possible. Once thousands of Divine Tao warriors were successfully refined, the Dragon Sect wouldn't have a hard time conquering the 9 prefectures continent. They could even enter the Tianwu continent. 9 prefectures continent, rank 3 Long clan. Sect Chief Long Maoan and Great Elder Long Yen were astounded. Until now, the two of them still couldn't believe that Longao was able to kill more than 100 Emperor realm martial artists in one strike and scare away 2 Supreme realm martial artists. What kind of concept was that? How long had it been? In just a few months, Longao's achievements had already surpassed them. The two of them were worried. The rank 3 Long clan had been abandoned by the Long family. It was already fortunate that they weren't destroyed by the Nether Mansion. The two of them knew that if Longao chose to deal with them, the Long clan would have no choice but to surrender. What they were afraid of came true. Longao, you're finally here. Looking at the young man who suddenly appeared in front of them, neither Long Maoan nor Long Yen were surprised. The two of them knew that Longao would definitely come. Long Maoan, Long Yen, Long. How have you been? He snorted coldly. Longao, cut the crap. What do you want? The two of them felt helpless. Longao was able to kill over 100 great Emperor-level martial artists, and scare away 2 Supreme Tao martial artists with one sword strike. No matter what method he used, his strength was already there for all to see. Would the family be able to contend against Longao with its power alone? Longqin doesn't have a good life in the Long family. Huh. Looking at the young man in front of them, the two of them didn't know why Longao would suddenly mention this. What did that mean? Long Moan, between you and me, it's either you die or I die. We're enemies. No matter if we live or die, we can't blame anyone. But now, I don't think there's a need for us to continue fighting. What do you think? Long Maoan did not answer because he did not know what Longao wanted. Under normal circumstances, the grudge between them was like what Longao had said. It was either you die or I die. Longao was no longer who he used to be. No matter if the others believed him or not, the two of them didn't believe him. Longchen and I have always been good friends. Moreover, I'm no longer at the same height as you. F***ck. They had to admit that Longao's words were arrogant. Even a fool could tell that Longao no longer cared about them. Although the two of them were unhappy with Longao's words, they knew that Longao was telling the truth. With Longao's current strength, it was obvious that they were no match for him. The two of them sighed deeply at the same time. Longao, we're the same. From now on, our grudge is written off. We'll mind our own business. At this moment, Long Maoan and Long Yen felt a sense of helplessness. They had never thought that things would turn out this way. Once upon a time, the third-grade Long family was still one of the four major forces in the Jiuzhou continent. In the eyes of the third-grade Long family, Long Ao and Long Zong were just like ants. If they wanted to trample Long Zong to death, it would be an easy task. But now, not to mention Long Ao, just the Nether Mansion alone would be able to destroy them whenever they wanted to. The Nether Mansion had the support of the Martial Artists Alliance. The Long family had already abandoned the Long family. This was the gap between them, a gap that could not be bridged. Long Maoan, if I'm not wrong, the Nether Mansion will destroy the rank 3 Long family, Ethereal Palace, and Imperial City in a year. Long Maoan did not speak. A year? In Long Maoan's opinion, the Nether Mansion would take action in less than half a year. Although the Nether Mansion was the overlord of the 9 states continent, they were unwilling to let the other 3 forces exist. If it weren't for many reasons, the Nether Mansion would have taken action long ago. Even so, what could they do? Looking at Long Maoan and Long Yen in front of him, Long Ao suddenly smiled. Before the two of them could react, he said, Long Maoan, I have a way to make the Serene Hell Mansion not deal with you. Moreover, the situation in the 9 continents will be like this for now. Long Ao, do you think I'll believe you? Although they were afraid of Long Ao's strength and admitted that Long Ao was no longer the same as before, Long Maoan and Long Yen did not believe that Long Ao could control the Nether Mansion, or even the Martial Artists Alliance, and stop the 9 states continent from changing. It's up to you whether you believe me or not. I'm just asking you whether you accept it or not. Seeing that Long Ao was so confident, Long Maoan and Long Yen muttered. If someone else said this, the two of them would definitely scoff. However, Long Ao was a miracle. A person who liked to create miracles. Could it be that Long Ao could really control the Nether Mansion? It was hard to believe. However, Long Maoan certainly hoped that it was true. He asked, Long Ao, what are your conditions? There was no free lunch in the world. He did not believe that Long Ao would help him for no reason. Was it possible for him to do it just for Long Chun? According to the grudge between him and Long Ao, it was already good enough that Long Ao did not hit him when he was down, let alone help him. It was somewhat unrealistic. After thinking about it, Long Ao looked at the two in front of him and said, I only have one condition. When the dragon sect rises in the future and needs your help, I hope you can help. Long Ao, you're not joking, right? With your current strength, the dragon sect will be even stronger in the future. Can our Long family help you? Long Maoan knew his own limits. However, Long Ao shook his head and asked, Do you agree or not? P.S. Those who were hesitating before, I didn't see you supporting Little Nine. You guys weren't there when he exploded. I'm really speechless. Chapter 1072. Agreed. In the end, Long Maoan agreed. After all, Long Maoan didn't want his family to be destroyed. As the head of the Long family, he had to put the family's interests first. Not only the third-level Long family. In the following days, Long Ao went to the Imperial City and the Ethereal Palace. Their intentions were similar. There was no doubt about it. The Imperial City and the Ethereal Palace both agreed. Longao had the Alliance Leader token. It was easy for the Serene Hades Mansion to not deal with the three forces. In other words, the situation in the Jiuzhou continent wouldn't change for the time being. Unless the Martial Artists Alliance, or the other 9 forces intervened. There were 2 reasons why Longao helped the 3 forces. First, Longao didn't want to change the situation in the Jiuzhou continent. After the Serene Hades Mansion dealt with the other 3 forces, they would definitely go all out to deal with the Dragon Sect. How would the Dragon Sect deal with that? Second, Longao had found a way out for the Dragon Sect. If there was a war in the future, at least they would have help. They might be able to catch the Dragon Sect off guard. The Jiuzhou continent. In the Serene Hades Mansion. Lei Luo appeared in the main hall as soon as Longao left. "Brother Lei Luo, what do you think?" Wei Yang's face darkened. He didn't expect Longao to take advantage of him. Earlier, he forced him to kill Ling Mian and Gu Shuang. Now, he didn't want him to deal with the 3 forces in the Imperial City and maintain the situation in the Jiuzhou continent. If this spread out, he would lose face. What about the Martial Artists Alliance? Lei Luo's face darkened. "There's no news from the Lord. We can't be sure if the Alliance Leader token in Longao's hand was given by the Alliance Leader." How could Wei Yan not understand the meaning behind Lei Luo's words? "Brother Lei Luo, what should we do now?" "Wait and see. I'd like to see what tricks Longao can play." Since things had come to this point, Wei Yan knew that he could only wait for the news from the Martial Artists Alliance and see what to do. After dealing with the Jiuzhou continent, Longao let out a long sigh of relief. Dragon Sect, Lone Courtyard? Longao sat quietly by himself. No one knew what he was thinking in his mind. All of a sudden, Longao's expression changed. Before he could react, 2 Primal Chaos Stone tablets appeared. They were the 5 Elements Primal Chaos Stone tablet and the Devour Primal Chaos Stone tablet. They were in big trouble. Towards these 2 Chaos Stone tablets, Longao was truly helpless. This was because he had no idea when these 2 Chaos Stone tablets would appear and when they would stop. They were like the wind and clouds, constantly changing. At this moment, the 2 Chaos Stone tablets didn't start fighting as expected. One on the left, and one on the right, they were like 2 lovers in love. They stared at each other without moving at all. Longao didn't dare to act rashly because he didn't know what the 2 Chaos tablets wanted. This situation had never happened before. Did they want to fight or not? Longao tried to communicate with Long Fu, Xiling, and Bai Ling to see if the 3 of them had any ideas. If he didn't communicate, he wouldn't have known. Now that he did, he was shocked. This was because Longao realized that be it Xiling, Bai Ling, or Long Fu, he couldn't communicate with them. If he wasn't wrong, it should be because of the 2 Chaos Stone tablets. With a so, Longao's soul entered his dantian. Looking at the white and gray area, he was really curious. He didn't know why his soul would suddenly enter his dantian. Chaotic dantian. Chaos Stone tablets. Seeing the 2 Chaos Stone tablets enter his dantian, Longao was really curious. He didn't know what the relationship between the Chaos Stone tablets and his dantian was. Refining? Longao could clearly sense that at this moment, his dantian was refining the 2 Chaos Stone tablets. Even if it was devouring the tablets, it was still being refined. Longao didn't know what was happening at all. Why would his dantian suddenly refine the 5 Elements Chaos Stone tablets, and even devour them? With regards to his dantian, Longao was really looking forward to it. To be able to refine 2 Chaos Stone tablets, one could imagine how terrifying his dantian was. Longao was powerless. He could only watch quietly as the 2 Chaos Stone tablets were being refined by his dantian. As for whether or not he could refine them, that was still unknown. If he said that he wasn't happy, that would be a lie. Longao was very clear what it meant for his dantian to refine 2 Chaos Stone tablets. If he successfully refined the Devour and 5 Elements Chaos Stone tablets, then according to Long Fu, his strength wouldn't increase greatly. He could even become one of the strongest martial artists in the world. In the world, there were a total of 12 Chaos Stone tablets. No matter who it was, as long as they could obtain one of the Chaos Stone tablets, they could become a supreme powerhouse in the world. However, Longao was also a little worried. Because from ancient times until now, there had never been a person who could possess 2 Chaos Stone tablets at the same time, much less refine them. Once Longao successfully refined the Devour and 5 Elements Chaos Stone tablets, he could become the first person in history. There would be no one like him in history. About 6 hours later, Longao was able to move. He left his dantian and looked around the courtyard. He let out a long sigh of relief, because even now, he still didn't know what had just happened. Why would the 2 Primal Chaos Stone tablets suddenly enter his Primal Chaos dantian and even begin to be refined? Although the refining speed was a little slow, Longao was still looking forward to it. He was looking forward to his dantian refining the 2 Chaos Stones. "Master, what happened just now?" Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao was almost certain that Long Fu didn't know what had just happened. Since he didn't know, he didn't intend to tell Long Fu. After all, Long Fu didn't know anything about his dantian. The 2 Chaos Stone tablets suddenly appeared. Then I was brought into a mysterious space. 6 hours later, I came back. During this time, I don't know what happened either. Ever since Longao met Long Fu, he didn't hide anything from him. It was because of this that Long Fu didn't suspect anything. After thinking about it, Long Fu didn't say anything. It seemed like even Long Fu didn't know what had happened. Ayo, or we're in big trouble. At this time, Long Haoshi rushed into the courtyard. In the entire dragon sect, besides Long Haoshi and Long Yi, there was probably no one else who dared to enter the courtyard. After all, Longao's status was there. Even Long Haoshi's status was inferior to Longao's. "Grandfather, what happened?" Longao was curious. He didn't know why his grandfather was so flustered. P.S. Chapter 9 has been delivered. The last chapter will be delivered by Little 9 as soon as possible. Chapter 1073. Ao, or Yi Wuxuang is outside. Yi Wuxuang? Hearing that Yi Wuxuang was here, Longao's expression instantly turned solemn. Of course, he was familiar with Yi Wuxuang. It could be said that Longao and Yi Wuxuang could be considered brothers. Moreover, Longao had personally promised Fentian that he would clean up the sect and kill Yi Wuxuang. Although he was full of confidence in his own strength, Longao still knew his limits. The current situation. Whether it was strength or formation skills, he was no match for Yi Wuxuang. If they really fought, he would be the one at a disadvantage in the end. Longao knew very well that he had been careless this time. He only wanted to settle the situation in the 9 provinces and forgot to block the news. Yi Wuxuang knew that he had returned to Longao Peak, so it would be strange if he did not come. Outside Longao Peak. "Yi Wuxuang, long time no see. How have you been?" "Longao, cut the crap. I'm looking for you this time mainly for the 100 drops of dragon blood. As long as you return them to me, we can forget about our previous grudges. I won't pursue the matter. How about that?" He really came for the 100 drops of dragon blood. Others might not know where the 100 drops of dragon blood went, but how could Longao not know? The 100 drops of dragon blood had gradually been refined by Long Chang. If he wanted to take out the 100 drops of dragon blood, he would have to find them again. Of course, Longao would not answer truthfully. "Yi Wuxuang, I've already said that I didn't take the 100 drops of dragon blood. It's useless for you to keep pestering me." Yi Wuxuang had a look of disbelief. "Longao, I'll give you one last chance. Hand over 100 drops of dragon blood, and our grudges will be written off. Otherwise, not only you, even the entire dragon sect behind you, I won't leave a single one alive." Yi Wuxuang had the right to be so arrogant. As a divine Dao martial artist, Yi Wuxuang was also a divine Dao formation master. He could be considered to be standing at the peak of formation masters. Whether it was a one-on-one or a group battle, Yu Wuxuang was really an expert among experts. It would be a lie to say that he was not afraid. Longao, you have to think carefully. Within Longao Peak. Before Long Batian left, he gave his cave residence to Longao. It was a temporary shelter for the dragon sect. There were tens of thousands of disciples in the dragon sect. It was almost impossible to move all of them. However, Long Haoshe had already thought of a countermeasure. Not only was it to deal with Yu Wuxuang, but it was mainly to deal with Long Hang, the other people, and the other forces. Long Haoshe first moved the 1,000-odd people who had obtained the divine Dao inheritance to the underground of Longao Peak, which was Long Baishan's cave residence. The remaining people moved as fast as they could. Long Baishan's abode was so big that it could easily accommodate tens of thousands of people, let alone thousands. Longao. He waved his hand. This time, Longao did not give Yu Wuxuang the chance to speak. He said impatiently, Yu Wuxuang, do you know Fentian? Fentian? Yu Wuxuang was shocked when he heard Longao mention Fentian. Others might not know who Fentian was, but how could he not know? Fentian was his master. It was all thanks to his master that he was able to achieve what he had today. Yu Wuxuang did not say anything. He stared coldly at Longao in front of him. The killing intent on his body slowly gathered. It could be said that his killing intent was overflowing. Yu Wuxuang, since things have come to this, I'll tell you something. Without waiting for Yu Wuxuang to ask, Longao continued. Fentian is not only your master, he's also my master. Moreover, when he was about to die, I had already promised to kill you and clean up the sect. At first he was stunned. Then, Yu Wuxuang laughed maniacally. His laughter was filled with endless disdain and contempt, as if he had heard the funniest thing in the world. So you're the old man's disciple. You came at the right time. Longao, I'd like to see how you're going to clean up the sect today. Yu Wuxuang did not take Longao seriously at all. If a great emperor martial artist and venerable level formation master wanted to kill him, the sun would rise from the west. Yu Wuxuang, do you know about the burning sky formation? Yu Wuxuang, who had already decided to attack, stopped abruptly when he heard the words burning sky formation. He was a little greedy and excited. Yu Wuxuang asked with interest. You know about it? Nonsense, I'm not afraid to tell you that I've already refined the burning sky formation. Unfortunately, you won't be able to obtain it. In this lifetime, you won't be able to cultivate the Tao of formations to the peak. What a pity, what a pity! As he spoke, Longao sighed. The more Longao acted like this, the angrier Yu Wuxuang became. Back then, it was precisely because of the burning sky formation that he had killed his master. However, he did not expect that the old man would rather teach the burning sky formation to an outsider than teach it to him. Yu Wuxuang knew very well that what Longao said was right. The burning sky formation was a supreme technique among formations. If he could not obtain the burning sky formation, he would not be able to break through to the peak of the Tao of formations in this lifetime. It was precisely because of this that Yu Wuxuang knew very well that no matter what happened, he had to obtain the burning sky formation. Longao, as long as you hand over the burning sky formation, I can give you 100 drops of dragon blood. Between 100 drops of dragon blood and the burning sky formation, Yu Wuxuang naturally chose the burning sky formation without hesitation and not the 100 drops of dragon blood. The burning sky formation was too important to Yu Wuxuang. Would Longao hand over the burning sky formation? Yu Wuxuang, you killed your own master. You can even do such a heartless thing. Do you think I'll hand over the burning sky formation to you? Longao, if you don't hand over the burning sky formation, it won't be just you. Here it comes again. Longao said speechlessly. There's no need to dawdle here. Just you? Is Longao so confident? Thinking of the rumors he had heard before, Yu Wuxuang was more or less a little afraid. However, Yu Wuxuang was full of confidence in his strength and the Tao of formations. A small Longao would not be able to cause much trouble. Yu Shuang, why don't you make a bet with me? What kind of bet? I bet that you won't be able to do anything about it. If I lose, not only will I give you the 100 drops of dragon blood and the burning sky formation, but I'll also give you my life. However, if you lose, you'll have to kneel in front of Longao Peak for a year. How about that? The more Longao acted like this, the more Yu Shuang did not dare to bet. It was laughable that Yu Shuang, who had always been full of confidence, was intimidated by Longao at this moment. You don't dare? Longao, do you really think you're very powerful? I'd like to see how you'll escape from my hands today. As he spoke, Yu Shuang suddenly released a powerful aura from his body and directly suppressed Yu Shuang. Yu Shuang did not hesitate at all and charged out. Yu Shuang was prepared to hit the target with this attack. However, the next scene completely stunned Yu Shuang. P.S. All 10 chapters have been delivered. Rest. Chapter 1074. Has Longao disappeared? He disappeared right under my nose just like that. Looking at the empty space before him, Yu Shuang was completely dumbfounded. What happened just now? Rumble. Suddenly, the sound of thunder was accompanied by a dragon's roar. Following that, a terrifying sword chi came with the momentum. If not for Yu Shuang's high vigilance, he believed that the sword would have taken his life. Longao, come out and have a fair fight if you dare. What kind of hero are you sneaking around like that? Hero? Yu Shuang, those words coming out of your mouth are an insult to the word. Longao ignored Yu Shuang. With the help of spatial teleportation, he kept swinging his sword chi. Sword chi followed sword chi, forming a sword net. Longao knew very well that with his current ability, it was impossible for him to be Yu Shuang's match. Yu Shuang would not be able to react within a short period of time. He could still resist for a while. As time passed, he would be the one at a disadvantage in the end. He fiercely waved out a sword chi. Then, Longao disappeared completely. It was quiet in front of Longao Peak. Yu Shuang was the only one there. He looked around angrily, trying to find traces of Longao. In the end, Yu Shuang was disappointed. Longao, no matter where you go, I'll find you. Yu Shuang had a feeling that Longao had not left Longao Peak. He entered Longao Peak and began searching. In the huge cave under Longao Peak. Ao, are you alright? Shaking his head, Longao said with a smile. Although Yu Shuang is powerful, it won't be easy for him to deal with me. Grandfather, from now on, everyone in the dragon sect will cultivate here. Without our permission, no one is allowed to leave. Those who disobey will be killed without mercy. How could Longhao not know what Ao meant? Putting aside Longhang, the Nether Mansion, and the Martial Artists Alliance, just Yu Shuang alone was not Dragon Sect's match with Yu Shuang's ability. Ao, or I'll go arrange it now. He nodded. Longao's heart was very troubled. He returned to his residence, closed the door, and sat alone quietly. As his horizons grew, Longao realized that his strength seemed to be unable to keep up. Even if his cultivation speed was fast, he had started too late. It had been half a month since he left the Long family. According to the distance between the two places, it would take at least 15 days to return from the Longao Peak to the Long family. In other words, there were still 2 months left. No matter what happened, he had to rush back to the Long family. Otherwise, he would be in big trouble. Longao was almost certain that if he did not rush back to the Long clan within 3 months, not to mention the others, just Longhang alone would not let go. It was fine to deal with him, but what if he dealt with the Dragon Sect? Longhang was the great elder of the Long family. Not to mention his own strength, the power he could mobilize was too great. If Longhang really wanted to deal with the Dragon Sect, he would be in big trouble. As for Yu Shuang, Longao chose to ignore him. If Yu Shuang wanted to wait, then he would keep waiting. After all, either he nor the entire Dragon Sect would leave the cave casually. In that case, Yu Shuang could not do anything to him. Tianwu continent, outer sea. In the deepest part of the sea, in the Crystal Palace. Old friend, since you're here, show yourself. Ha ha ha, Oracle, we haven't seen each other for so many years, but you're still the same. The man who entered the Crystal Palace was none other than Longao. If Longao were here at this moment, who knew what he would think when he saw his ancestor, Longao? According to Longao, he had already entered 7 reincarnations. Since that was the case, why would he suddenly appear here? Old friend, why are you suddenly here this time? The oracle's face was full of vicissitudes, and he looked very weak. Oracle, haven't you recovered from your injuries? Nodding, the oracle sighed deeply and said helplessly, Unfortunately, I was injured in the battle back then. After so many years, I still can't recover from my injuries. I've tried countless methods, but they still don't work. As the strongest cultivator on the Tianwu continent, the oracle's helplessness made Longbao's heart ache. Oracle, I came to find you this time mainly to ask you what's going on with Ao. The oracle immediately perked up at the mention of Longao. Old friend, Longao's identity isn't simple. What do you mean? Longao was very curious. Of course, he knew who Longao was. He was just a junior. What kind of identity could he have? I've already sensed that Longao's bloodline is extremely powerful. If it wasn't sealed by a mysterious power, I believe that Longao's cultivation speed and explosive power would increase by 1,000 times. You should know better than me what that means. Upon hearing this, Longbao's expression turned grim. He knew exactly what Master Godly Mathematician meant. I still can't sense where the sealing power in Longao's body is coming from. But give me some time, and I should be able to figure it out. So nothing can happen to Longao. Other than that, I want to turn Longao into my successor. Longao had long since thought of this. Otherwise, the oracle wouldn't have passed on his divine divination doubt to Longao. I'll leave Ao to you. I'm preparing to leave for a while. Old friend, if you leave, the heavenly Taoists will take advantage of the situation. I won't be able to stop them on my own. What a joke, Oracle. Others might not know your power, but do you think I don't? Let alone one heavenly Taoist, even 10 of them wouldn't necessarily be a match for you. Even if you were injured, the heavenly Taoist wouldn't be a match for you. Longao was very clear about the heavenly Taoist and the oracle's power. He helplessly shook his head and sighed. You don't know. Although I can't accurately calculate, I can roughly guess that the heavenly Taoists have already made a breakthrough. What? Longao was speechless. He knew exactly what a breakthrough in the heavenly Taoist cultivation base meant. If that was the case, then even the oracle wouldn't necessarily be able to keep the heavenly Taoists in check. It was no wonder the heavenly Taoists had said that. This time, Longao was shocked to the extreme, and it took him a long time to recover. Old friend, the heavenly Taoists have hidden themselves very deeply. You and I were both fooled. If we had known this, we would have killed them back then. Now that we've nurtured a tiger, the heavenly Taoists will definitely not let this matter rest. In the future, the martial heaven continent will be completely dominated by the heavenly Taoists. The heavenly Taoist breakthrough will be inevitable. Sighed the oracle. Chapter 1075. Master God Diviner, with just the 2 of us, can't we kill the heavenly Taoists? We can't. Longao didn't seem to believe it. He knew the heavenly Taoist's power the best. Even if he had broken through a realm, he couldn't possibly fight the 2 of them alone. Old friend. Master God Diviner, Longao, long time no see. A hearty laugh was heard. Immediately after, Heavenly Tao strode into the Crystal Palace. Longbao's expression changed slightly as soon as he sensed it. Just as the Master God Diviner had said, the Heavenly Taoists were no longer the same as before. Just his aura alone was not something they could contend against. There was no doubt that the Heavenly Taoist breakthrough was no small matter. The Heavenly Taoists. Neither the Master God Diviner nor Long Batian knew why the heavenly Taos had suddenly appeared. The martial heaven continent. Many people knew that there were only two people who had truly reached the peak of the martial path. They were the heavenly Taos and the Master God Diviner. However, many people didn't know that there was another person whose cultivation base had also reached the peak of the martial path. It was Long Batian. However, Long Batian's personality was very strange. He didn't like others knowing about him. Otherwise, the world wouldn't only know about the heavenly Taos and the Master God Diviner. Master God Diviner, the main reason I came to find you is to ask you to help me calculate. Calculate what? The Master God Diviner's divine Tao was something that even the heavenly Taos admired. Furthermore, the heavenly Taos felt a trace of gratitude toward the Master God Diviner. If it hadn't been for the Master God Diviner's help, he wouldn't have been able to reach the peak of the martial path. Long Batian smiled. The heavenly Taos walked to the side and sat down, looking very indifferent. It was unknown whether or not the heavenly Taos had heard what the Master God Diviner and Long Batian had said. Master God Diviner, I'll get straight to the point. I want to destroy the 10-direction cauldron and re-establish it. Will there be any problems with that? The Master God Diviner and Long Batian's expressions changed. Both Master God Diviner and Long Batian knew what the heavenly Tao meant. Other than the three of them, the 10 directions cauldrons were the strongest existences on the martial heaven continent. If something unexpected happened, then one of the 10 directions cauldrons could reach the peak of the martial path and directly threaten the existence of the heavenly Taos. Heavenly Taos, you should know that we agreed not to interfere with the martial heaven continent's situation. Master God Diviner, Yang Qi said, those people are all trying to absorb the essence power. If we don't stop them. Although Heavenly Tao did not finish his words, the meaning in his words was already very clear. Heavenly Tao, I don't want anyone to break our agreement, no matter who it is. At the end of the day, the Heavenly Tao was still somewhat wary of Master God Diviner. Even if his cultivation had made a breakthrough, the Heavenly Tao still did not dare to act rashly. Otherwise, the Heavenly Tao would not have come to ask and would have directly taken action. With the strength of the Heavenly Tao, wanting to destroy the 10 directions tripod erection was simply a clear matter. Master God Diviner's strength was unfathomable. The Heavenly Taos, the structure of the martial heaven continent cannot be destroyed. As for what you're worried about, I can guarantee that it won't happen. Heavenly Tao. Long Batian, who had been silent this entire time, suddenly said, Heavenly Tao, with your current strength, even if someone is able to absorb the essence power, you can definitely kill them. Why do you have to destroy the 10 directions tripod erection and change the structure of the continent? He nodded. Although the Heavenly Tao was displeased, he chose to compromise in the end. The Heavenly Tao wanted to advance step by step. If his cultivation base could reach a higher level, then whatever dog fought Master God Diviner and Long Batian would not be a problem. The Master God Diviner was already unfathomable. Adding in Long Batian, the Heavenly Tao did not dare to take the risk. If he was killed by the two of them, wouldn't he be trying to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice used to lure it? Heavenly Tao, I trust you understand the situation of the martial heaven continent. If you act recklessly and expose the secret of the continent, the two of us will not just sit and wait for death. The Heavenly Tao nodded. He was very afraid of the two of them. Heavenly Tao, the Long family and the dragon race, you should let them go. The Heavenly Tao was just about to leave when he heard Long Batian's words. His expression turned cold. Long Batian, aren't you meddling too much in other people's business? You don't seem to have any relationship with the Long family or the dragon race. Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon were a huge problem for the Heavenly Tao. How could he let them off so easily? Back then, Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon almost reached the peak of the martial path. Now, they've entered the cycle of reincarnation. If I let the dragon race and the Long family go, wouldn't I be causing trouble for myself? Heavenly Tao, every grievance has its perpetrator, and every debt has its debtor. This is a grudge between the two of you. If you implicate the Long family and the dragon race, it'll be a bit of a disaster. Not giving the Heavenly Tao a chance to speak, Long Batian continued. Although I have no relationship with the Long family, the God Diviner just said that no matter who it is, the situation of the continent cannot be changed. The God Diviner continued. Heavenly Tao, Long Batian is correct. The grudge between the two of you should not implicate the other. Humph. Without saying anything else, the Heavenly Tao turned and vanished. The God Diviner and Long Batian looked at each other. They could see a trace of helplessness in each other's eyes. The Heavenly Tao still isn't confident. Otherwise, it would have attacked just now. The God Diviner nodded in agreement. That's why I'm doing my best to nurture the Longao. I hope that he can grow stronger as soon as possible to counter the Heavenly Tao. Aoer is only a sovereign. If he wants to reach our level, it'll take him at least 10,000 years. I've already thought about this. Once his cultivation base breaks through to the Nirvana realm, I'll bring him to that place. Of course, Long Batian knew exactly where Master God Diviner was referring to, and that was why he was so surprised. Isn't it a bit too early? There's no way around it. We can't wait any longer. I hope the Longao doesn't disappoint me. Speaking of which, have you really decided to leave? Yes. You should know that once you're discovered, the consequences will be unimaginable. It might even implicate the Martial Heaven continent. It's better to wait a bit longer. I can't wait any longer. The God Diviner didn't say anything else. Just like that, the two of them remained silent in the Crystal Palace. As for the Heavenly Tao, he stood outside the Crystal Palace, seemingly able to see the two of them inside. He sneered and emitted killing intent. God Diviner, Long Batian, I'll let you live for a few more days. Once I'm done with my mission, I'll kill you. At that time, I'll be the ruler of the Martial Heaven continent. Ha 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 ha. Author's note, everyone, let's count our votes so that our rankings can rise a bit. Chapter 1076. Dragon Sect. In a hidden seal at the back of the mountain. Sun Yi, I've treated you well. Why did you betray me and help the Long family? Seng Yi betrayed the Fire Qilin at the critical moment. The shocking sword that Longao had released earlier had instantly killed over 100 great Emperor martial artists. However, only the Fire Qilin remained. Ha ha ha, Longao, don't ask me why. I'm just following orders. You just have to remember one thing, I can't help myself. Crack. As soon as the Fire Qilin Seng Yi finished speaking, his body slowly collapsed. Then, his body exploded and disappeared without a trace. In the end, Seng Yi chose to commit suicide. Can't help himself? The Fire Qilin's words had a hidden meaning. Longao was not a fool. Of course, he could hear the endless helplessness in his words. Following orders, can't help himself. Could it be the immemorial Qilin? Longao knew very well that the immemorial Qilin and the immemorial Divine Dragon were existences of the same era. They were probably existences that were infinitely close to the peak of martial arts. If this was the immemorial Qilin's doing, then things would be troublesome. Boom! A loud sound echoed throughout the world. The entire 9 states continent shook violently as if a huge earthquake had occurred. Everyone in the 9 states continent was completely shocked. They all looked at the 9 heavens, not knowing what had happened. Red clouds covered the sky. The entire 9 heavens looked like burning clouds. It was like boiling water. Father, what's going on? Feeling the earthquake and the burning clouds in the 9 heavens, everyone in the dragon sect was shocked. Long Yi asked in surprise. Long Hosher shook his head and said, It's a miracle. It seems like something big is going to happen in the 9 states continent. Everyone looked at Longao. In the dragon sect, Longao was a godlike existence. He was also the strongest person in the dragon sect. However, Longao also shook his head, indicating that he did not know. Not only the dragon sect, but even the Nether Mansion, Imperial City, and Level 3 Longao were shocked. They did not know what had happened in the 9 states continent. Because for so many years, nothing like this had ever happened. In the 9 heavens, Heavenly Tao's true body stood at the peak of the void, coldly looking down at everything with a strange expression. Master God Diviner, Longbatian, let's see how you're going to take this. Just as the Heavenly Tao finished speaking, a voice sounded between heaven and earth. The Heavenly Path Mountain has descended. No matter who it is, as long as they can obtain the Heavenly Path seal, not only will they be able to sense the Heavenly Path martial techniques within the Heavenly Path seal, they will also be able to obtain the source energy. 10 days later, the competition will officially begin. The voice of the Heavenly Das didn't just spread throughout the 9 provinces. Even on the martial heaven continent, everyone heard it. Everyone who heard the voice turned pale with fright and were pleasantly surprised. Many people knew very well what the Heavenly Tao meant. As the strongest expert in the Tianwu continent, a supreme existence that had stepped onto the peak of the martial path, the martial skills that the Heavenly Tao possessed were extremely powerful. As for the power of origin, 99% of the people did not know about it. However, many super experts knew about it, especially those who were infinitely close to the peak of martial arts. They were only a step away. For example, Tong Tiendi, Longbatian, Muronguena, and the others. As long as they could absorb the power of origin, then there would definitely be someone among them who could reach the peak of the martial path. All of a sudden, everyone became excited. The Heavenly Tao Mountain descended on the 9 provinces Tianzhou. It wasn't too far from Longao Peak, but it wasn't too close either. The 9 provinces were divided into 9 provinces. They were the Tianzhou, Earth Prefecture, Sun Prefecture, Moon Prefecture, Setting Sun Prefecture, Cloud Prefecture, Crimson Prefecture, Illusion Prefecture, and Black Forest Prefecture. Longao Peak, Dragon Sect Palace. Longao and the others also heard the Heavenly Tao's voice. Other than being pleasantly surprised, the others were also pleasantly surprised. Only Longao's expression was extremely grave. That was because he was very clear on what kind of person the Heavenly Tao was. Ao, this is an extremely rare opportunity. Are you prepared to participate? Longao already knew of the Heavenly Tao's existence. It was precisely because of this that the Heavenly Tao possessed the Heavenly Tao martial skills. Once Ao obtained them, wouldn't Ao's strength explosively increase? However, Longao was also very worried. With the descent of the Heavenly Tao Mountain, there would definitely be many people wanting to obtain the Heavenly Tao martial skills and core energy. Ao might be powerful, but was it possible for him to contend against all the experts of the martial heaven continent? How could Longao not know what his grandfather was worried about? Grandfather, I still haven't decided. Longao's heart was in a mess. He didn't say anything else. He returned to his courtyard alone and began to quietly think. Why had the Heavenly Tao suddenly acted like this? Longao. Looking at the figure that suddenly appeared, Longao immediately stood up. He was very surprised and said, Senior Divine Mathematician, why are you here? The person who had just appeared was the God Diviner. He had also reached the peak of the martial path, and his strength was above the Heavenly Tao's. Not only that, but his divine divination Tao was incomparably powerful. It could be said that the God Diviner was the #1 expert of the martial heaven continent. Longao had never imagined that the God Diviner would suddenly appear here. Was it for the Heavenly Tao's? As he had expected. Longao, you should have heard what the Heavenly Tao said just now, right? Longao nodded. He didn't say anything, because he still wasn't sure why the God Diviner had come this time. In fact, he didn't even know if the Heavenly Tao's and the God Diviner were friends or foes. Who knew if the God Diviner was just using him? I don't know why the Heavenly Tao's are doing this, but Longao, I hope you can participate in the descent of the Heavenly Tao Mountain. As long as you obtain the Heavenly Tao martial skills and core energy, I can help you reach the peak of the martial path in the future. Longao didn't feel the slightest bit of joy. He still didn't know if the God Diviner was a friend or foe. Senior God Diviner, according to my original intentions, I don't want to participate in the struggle for the heavenly Tao Mountain. I trust that you know what core energy represents. If nothing unexpected happens, there will be many experts coming this time. With my current strength, it's impossible for me to obtain the heavenly Tao martial skills, let alone the core energy. Longao was very clear that Long Di Tian and the others would not care about the Heaven Path martial skills. As for the source energy, the meaning was different. In order to fight for the source energy, he believed that the strongest experts in the continent would all rush over to fight for it. Longao didn't have the confidence to obtain the heavenly Tao martial skills and core energy in the hands of so many experts. Longao, don't worry about that. When the heavenly Tao mountain descends, I'll help you. The divine mathematician smiled mysteriously. Then, after a while, two spirit beasts appeared beside him. Longao's complexion changed as he felt the powerful aura emitted from the two spirit beasts. Author's note: I'm resting today. 3 chapters have been delivered. Tomorrow, I'll have a small eruption. At the very least, I'll start with 6 chapters. I slept in the morning and will probably wake up very late. Don't rush me. Little Nine will do his best to update as soon as possible. Chapter 1077. Senior God Diviner, these are? The two spirit beasts in front of Longao had strange appearances. They looked like a dragon, a tiger, and a qilin. Their mouths were especially huge. Longao, these two weeping soul beasts can help you obtain everything in the heavenly Tao mountain. Many thanks, Senior. If he said he didn't want such a temptation, he would be lying. Longao could clearly sense that these two weeping soul beasts were on the same level as Tong Tiendi. In other words, they were existences infinitely close to the peak of the martial path. With these weeping soul beasts, wouldn't he be able to dominate the continent? Longao, once the heavenly Tao mountain is over, these two weeping soul beasts will return. Fuck. He cursed inside. So he was just lending them to him for a few days. Longao was depressed to the extreme. However, these two weeping soul beasts belonged to the God Diviner, and he had no right to interfere. However, Longao was still satisfied. With the help of these two weeping soul beasts, he was completely confident that he would be able to obtain the heavenly Tao martial skills and core energy. Senior, there's something I don't understand. I want to ask you. Please speak. The God Diviner was very courteous. If the heavenly Taos were here, it was unknown what they would think. Senior God Diviner, I trust you've already sensed that my bloodline has been sealed by a mysterious energy. It was rare for Longao to meet the God Diviner. Naturally, he would ask about the seal. Even if the God Diviner hadn't come, Longao had already decided that once he was done with the Long family's matter, he would go to the Crystal Palace in the Outer Sea to find the God Diviner. Longao was very clear that perhaps only the God Diviner could give him an answer on the martial heaven continent. This was a rare opportunity, so he naturally wouldn't give it up so easily. The God Diviner didn't seem the slightest bit surprised. It seemed he already knew about this. Longao, I can't tell you about the seal on your bloodline for now. However, I can guarantee that once your cultivation base breaks through to the Nirvana realm, I'll tell you. What do you think? Again, he wasn't qualified? Apparently, Master God Diviner and the others didn't think he was strong enough. Longao knew that if Master God Diviner didn't want to talk, then no matter how many times he asked, he wouldn't say anything. The godly mathematician didn't give Longao a chance to ask any more questions. He turned around and disappeared. The two weeping soul beasts also disappeared, but Longao already knew how to command them. Grandpa, I'm going to Heavenly Tao Mountain. In the main hall. Hearing his grandson's decision, Longao wasn't surprised at all. He had already guessed that his grandson would make such a decision because he knew his grandson too well. It would be strange if he didn't go. He did not try to dissuade him. Longao said in support, Grandpa won't say anything. I just hope that you can protect yourself well. This time, there are many experts in Heavenly Path Mountain. No matter what happens, your life is the most important. Do you understand? Understood, Grandpa. I know what to do. After speaking to his grandfather, Longao chatted with his mother and father. In the entire dragon sect, the only person who knew that Longao was going to Heavenly Down Mountain was Longao. As for the others, no one knew. Longao's meaning was very simple. He didn't want this news to be leaked. The Heavenly Down Mountain's descent had shaken the entire martial heaven continent. Everyone wanted to obtain the Heavenly Down martial skills of the Heavenly Das, as well as their core energy. In just 10 days, everyone began to move. This time, it wasn't just the ordinary disciples who were rushing to the 9 provinces Tianzhou. Even the strongest people were coming. It could be said that the descent of the Heavenly Down Mountain had attracted all the experts of the martial heaven continent. It was easy to imagine how shocking the Heavenly Dao's actions were. This time, Longao hadn't gone to the Heavenly Down Mountain with his true appearance. Instead, he had disguised himself and changed his aura. That way, very few people would be able to recognize him. According to the Heavenly Daos, the Heavenly Down Mountain had already descended. However, the competition would only start in 10 days. How could Longao not know what the Heavenly Daos meant? 10 days was simply not enough for an ordinary cultivator to rush from the martial heaven continent to the 9 provinces. However, for the experts of the martial heaven continent, such as Tong Tiandi and the others, not to mention 10 days, they would only need a few hours to reach the 9 provinces. However, Longao was still oversimplifying things. The temptation of the Heavenly Down Mountain was too great. Practically all the powers had rushed over. Under normal circumstances, ordinary cultivators wouldn't be able to reach the 9 provinces in 10 days. However, everyone could use the transportation formation. That way, 10 days would be enough. Heavenly Down Mountain. Continent of the 9 continents Tianzhou. A towering mountain had appeared on the originally flat ground. At a glance, one couldn't see the end of it. It was as if the mountain was connected to the 9 heavens. It was a spectacular sight. The surroundings of the Heavenly Down Mountain were quiet. There wasn't a single person in sight. However, anyone with a discerning eye could tell that the Heavenly Down Mountain was currently filled with people. It was just that they had hidden themselves very well. If the Heavenly Down Mountain didn't start, no one would be willing to be the first to show themselves. Longao had already arrived at the Heavenly Down Mountain. However, he didn't go near it. Now that he had changed, even if his enemies were in front of him, they wouldn't be able to recognize him. The 10 great tripods were all present. Even the 10 master and the various elders were present. It seemed like everyone wanted to fight for the Heavenly Down Mountain's Heavenly Down martial technique and the so-called source energy. Shangguaniye? Looking at the headquarters of the Martial Artists Alliance in the distance, Longao sneered. He had already guessed that the Martial Artists Alliance would definitely come to the Heavenly Down Mountain this time. Not only Tong Tiandi and Tang Hao, but even Shangguaniye would be no exception. If it was before, Longao would definitely not act rashly. After all, Shangguaniye's strength was obvious. A Nirvana realm martial artist was already a top-notch existence in the Tianwu continent. However, the situation was completely different now. With the 2 weeping soul beasts given by the clairvoyant, Longao had full confidence that it wouldn't be difficult for him to kill Shangguaniye. This time, Longao had already decided that no matter what happened, he had to kill Shangguaniye and the others. Otherwise, if he didn't remove the roots when cutting the weeds, they would grow again when the spring breeze blew. Half of the 10 days had passed. In other words, there were only 5 days left before the Heavenly Down Mountain officially started. At that time, all the experts would enter the Heavenly Down Mountain. At that time, corpses would be everywhere and rivers of blood would be unavoidable. Why did the Heavenly Tao do this? After all, in the eyes of the Heavenly Tao, these people were no different from ants. Why did it do this? Chapter 1078. The Deputy Chief of the Martial Artists Alliance, Shanghai Ye. The Sword Sect's Deacon Elder, Lu Changxing. The Grand Elder of the Dragon Tribe, Longao. Longao had decided to kill the three of them, while he had the two powerful Weeping Soul Beasts with him during the Heavenly Down Mountain's arrival this time so that they would not cause trouble for him in the future. Opportunities were always left to those who were determined. Longao had always remembered a sentence, and that was, being merciful to the enemy was being cruel to oneself. The first person he would deal with was the Martial Artists Alliance's Deputy Chief, Shanghai Ye. As a Nirvana martial artist, Shanghai Ye's ability was the biggest threat to him. Time passed by bit. In the blink of an eye, 4 days had passed. The Heavenly Down Mountain's battle would officially begin tomorrow. By then, countless people would rush into the Heavenly Down Mountain. It would be a lie to say that he was not worried and fearful. Longao was no exception. Although he had the help of the two Weeping Soul Beasts, Longao was still a little worried. It was better to be safe than sorry. On Longao's peak, Yi Wuxiang was still looking for Longao. Even the arrival of the Heavenly Down Mountain did not attract Yi Wuxiang's attention. Yi Wuxiang knew that the Heavenly Down Mountain's arrival this time was actually a matter for the super powerhouses. To them, it was not essential. Apart from wasting time, they might even lose their lives. As for Longao, he initially wanted to fight Yi Wuxiang. However, after some thought, he decided to give up in the end. Although Yi Wuxiang was only a Divine Dao martial artist, he was also a Divine Dao formation master. Others might not know what a Divine Dao formation master meant, but how could Longao not know? Longao did not want to waste any time, so he planned to deal with the Heavenly Dao Mountain first before dealing with Yi Wuxiang. Since the marvelous mathematician would not recall the two Weeping Soul Beasts immediately, dealing with Yi Wuxiang was a piece of cake. Everyone was waiting for the Heavenly Down Mountain to open. In the 9 heavens, Long Batian looked down at the Heavenly Path Mountain with a grave expression. He still didn't know what the Heavenly Path meant by doing this. Why would the Heavenly Down Mountain descend all of a sudden? Oracle, what does the Heavenly Dao want? Shaking his head, Master God Diviner said helplessly. As my injuries continue to worsen, my Dao of divination is slowly deteriorating. I can no longer divine what the Dao of heaven wants. They were in big trouble now. Long Batian sighed heavily in his heart. Under such circumstances, who could stop the Heavenly Dao? It seems that the Heavenly Dao is still not completely confident. It wants to use the Heavenly Dao Mountain to test us. What do you mean? Looking down at Heaven Dao Mountain, Master God Diviner said, the Dao of Heaven made a breakthrough, and became much stronger. However, it wasn't completely confident that it could defeat the two of us. That's why the Dao of Heaven set up Heaven Dao Mountain to test our strength. Once it's fully confident, the Dao of Heaven will intervene. Long Batian nodded in response to Master God Diviner's words. So, no matter what happens, we must not do anything. I'm worried that the Heavenly Dao will act recklessly. If it destroys the 10-directional cauldron and re-establishes the power structure of the continent, it won't do the martial heaven continent any good. We can't worry about anything else. However, there's one thing I'm certain of. As long as we don't do anything, the Heavenly Dao won't dare to act recklessly. On the other side of the sky, standing at the peak of the clouds, the Heavenly Dao sneered. He could clearly sense the existence of Long Batian and the Heavenly Dao. It was just as Master God Diviner had said. The Heavenly Dao's cultivation base had increased, and his strength had soared. However, he still wasn't certain if he could contend against the two of them. After all, he had no choice but to summon the Heavenly Down Mountain and draw them out. That way, he would have some confidence. As for destroying the 10-directional cauldron and re-establishing the power structure of the continent, the Heavenly Dao hadn't thought about that yet. At the very least, he wouldn't do such a thing without killing the two of them. The Heavenly Dao Mountain has officially opened. The Heavenly Dao's sure kill skill and core energy are within the Heavenly Dao Mountain. No matter who finds it, the others can fight over it. Once you leave the Heavenly Tao Mountain, you can't fight over it for 3 days. Otherwise, you'll be killed. The Heavenly Tao's voice resounded throughout the world. No matter who it was, they could hear it clearly. Everyone was pleasantly surprised. The Heavenly Tao Mountain was finally opening. As for the rules set down by the Heavenly Tao, no one dared to violate them. They would be killed. In the entire martial heaven continent, there was no one capable of contending against the Heavenly Taos. In everyone's eyes, the Heavenly Taos were supreme existences. As expected. As soon as the Heavenly Tao's words faded, the Heavenly Tao Mountain began to shine with golden light. The terrifying chi barrier around it vanished without a trace. Everyone was pleasantly surprised. Without the slightest hesitation, they shot toward the Heavenly Tao Mountain. No one attacked. The Heavenly Tao had clearly stated that no fighting was allowed outside the Heavenly Tao Mountain. As for those who entered the Heavenly Tao Mountain, life and death were up to the heavens. Countless people surged into the Heavenly Tao Mountain. At a glance, there was a sea of people. There were people everywhere. They were so densely packed that they looked like endless ants. Longao didn't take action immediately. He looked around coldly and stared at Shangguaniye. Once he entered the Heavenly Tao Mountain, he had to make use of this opportunity to get rid of Shangguaniye. He had to get rid of all his troubles. He didn't know how many people had arrived. After 10 minutes, there were still many people entering the Heavenly Tao Mountain. There was an endless stream of people. Longao didn't continue waiting. He knew very well that most of the people who had just entered the Heavenly Tao Mountain were experts. After all, the weak wouldn't dare to be the spearhead. There was no point in continuing to wait. As for Shangguaniye, he had already locked onto her aura. Longao sneered. He took a big stride forward and dashed out. Longao's speed was too fast. In the blink of an eye, he had already disappeared from the Heavenly Tao Mountain. From the outside, the Heavenly Tao Mountain looked ordinary. However, after entering the Heavenly Tao Mountain, Longao realized that something was wrong. He thought that there was a very strange and mysterious force in the Heavenly Tao Mountain that was circulating in the air. As soon as he stepped into the Heavenly Tao Mountain, Longao didn't hesitate at all. He immediately shot toward the aura that he had locked onto. Inside the Heavenly Tao Mountain, there were barren hills and forests everywhere. It was strange. The countless people who had just entered the Heavenly Tao Mountain seemed to have disappeared all of a sudden. They were scattered everywhere. It seemed that the Heavenly Tao Mountain was too big. It was a little too big. Longao didn't care about the others. He shot toward Shangguaniye as fast as he could. However, what made Longao feel helpless was that Shangguaniye had come with the Alliance Master, Tong Tiendi. Not only had the Alliance Master of the Martial Artists Alliance come personally, but even the 8 Vice Alliance Masters had entered the Heavenly Tao Mountain at the same time. With such terrifying power, if they were discovered, the consequences would be unimaginable. Chapter 1079. Longao was almost certain. The leader of the Martial Artists Alliance, Tong Tiendi, and the 8 deputy leaders, including Shangguaniye and Tang Hao, were all Nirvana realm martial artists. Shangguaniye was only a deputy leader, but he was a Nirvana realm martial artist. It was not hard to imagine how powerful the other 7 deputy leaders were. As for the leader, Tong Tiendi, Longao knew very well that he should be infinitely close to the peak of martial arts. He did not dare to act rashly. In the distance, the 8 of you split up and search. Remember, if there is any trouble or if you find what we are looking for, inform the others immediately. Leader, we understand. After that, the 8 deputy leaders left in different directions. Shangguaniye's face was very serious because he had a feeling that something was going to happen. He didn't know why, but he felt that something was going to happen. A bad premonition arose spontaneously. This time, the Martial Artists Alliance did not bring many people. There were only about 100 of them. Tong Tiendi was not a fool. He knew very well that the Tiandu Mountain was a competition between experts. No matter how many disciples came, it would be useless. Not only the Martial Artists Alliance, but also the other 9 superforces were in the same situation. There was a sea of people. 90% of the people were from other small forces. They wanted to get a share of the loot. After all, the Tiandu Mountain mainly depended on luck. Strength was secondary. The 10 people behind Shangguaniye were all Supreme Realm martial artists. With such strength, no one could compete with Shangguaniye unless the other 9 superforces made a move. But at this moment, a terrifying attack came. Before Shangguaniye could figure out what was going on, 2 spirit beasts as big as hills appeared. The 2 weeping soul beasts launched the fiercest attack as soon as they appeared. Dozens of Supreme Realm martial artists were killed by the 2 weeping soul beasts without any chance to resist. Seeing this, Shangguaniye did not dare to be careless. He turned around and prepared to leave. But would Longao give Shangguaniye a chance? The answer was definitely no. The 2 weeping soul beasts attacked from both sides, not giving Shangguaniye any chance to escape. 1 against 2. In just 3 moves, Shangguaniye was gradually losing ground. According to this situation, Shangguaniye would definitely die. However, Longao was still too anxious. If he could wait for another hour, he believed that Shangguaniye would not be able to escape death this time. In the end, Shangguaniye was still lucky. 8 terrifying forces descended at the same time. Tong Tiandi led the other 7 Vice Alliance Masters over quickly. Their auras were felt even before they arrived. With the 8 of them working together, and with the addition of Shanghaiye, there would be 9 of them working together. Their power was not to be underestimated. Just a moment ago, it was still 1 against 2, but now it was 9 against 2. Even if the 2 weeping soul beasts were strong, it was impossible for them to defeat Tong Tiandi's group of 9. Shangguaniye cursed in his heart. Longao never expected that Tong Tiandi and the others would return. In this case, it seemed impossible to kill Shangguaniye with the help of the weeping soul beasts. Since that was the case, what was the point of staying? Longao made a prompt decision and called back the 2 weeping soul beasts. Without giving them any chance, he immediately teleported and disappeared from the spot. After stepping into Heavenly Path Mountain, Longao had already decided that no matter what happened, he would not communicate with Long Fu. Xiling and Bai Ling would also not enter the Dragon Seal space. After all, Heavenly Path Mountain was the territory of the Heavenly Path. Once the Heavenly Path sensed the Dragon Seal space or the existence of Bai Ling and Xiling, the consequences would be unimaginable. Alliance leader Shangguan, what exactly happened? Shangguaniye shook his head. Even now, he still had lingering fear. He didn't know why those 2 powerful divine beasts would suddenly attack him. If it wasn't for the arrival of the Alliance Master and the others, he would have been killed. Alliance leader, I also do not know what happened. All 10 disciples were killed. It seems like. Shangguaniye pointed upwards. His meaning was very clear. Tong Tiandi and the others were not fools. Of course, they understood the meaning of Shangguaniye's words. Other than the Heavenly Path, it seemed that no one would be so bored as to provoke the Martial Artists Alliance. Even the other 9 superforces would not do so. Why did he do this? Who knew? As the most powerful person in the Tianwu continent, no one could guess what the Heavenly Path was thinking. No matter who did this, it will end here. Our main goal is to find the Heavenly Path's ultimate skill and the origin energy. The 8 deputy alliance leaders nodded. The 8 of them knew that the alliance leader did not dare to pursue the matter because he was afraid of the Heavenly Path's strength. With the Heavenly Path's strength, not to mention dealing with the Martial Artists Alliance, it would only take a few minutes for him to destroy the 10 Forces Alliance. This was the strength of the Heavenly Path. In the distance, Longao's expression was very ugly as he watched the Martial Artists Alliance members gradually disappear. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but he had wasted it just like that. Longao knew very well that after this, Shangguaniye would not be alone. In this way, the difficulty of killing Shangguaniya would increase exponentially. Longao's balls were hurting to the extreme. Longao, the Heavenly Path's descent of the Heavenly Path mountain this time has nothing to do with you. Take this opportunity to find the ultimate skill and the origin energy. No matter which one it is, it will be of great help to you. Understood. How could Longao not know what Xiling had said? He was interested in the Heavenly Path's ultimate skill, but to be honest, he was not very interested in the origin energy. According to Longao, there were many types of origin energy. Only by finding the origin energy that was suitable for him would he be able to reach the peak of martial arts. Because of this, he did not keep the origin energy that he had obtained previously. However, no matter what, he could not use it, but it did not mean that others could not. Taking a step back, the origin energy could help the Dragon Seal's space recover. Why would he not want it? Longao, to be honest, my sister and I really need the origin energy. However, the origin energy of the Tianwu continent is controlled by the Heavenly Path, and we are unable to obtain it. Therefore, we have to rely on you this time. I hope that you can help us. So that was it. Longao was very puzzled. Why would Xiling remind him out of the blue? It turned out that he wanted him to help the two of them. Longao did not hesitate at all. At the same time that he agreed, he was also very clear about Xiling's concerns. No matter what, the Heavenly Path's strength was obvious. Once the Heavenly Path discovered the existence of Xiling and Bailing, it would definitely use all kinds of methods to obtain the two Jianling. With the strength of Xiling and Bailing, they could only sit and wait for death. Xiling, can you sense where the Heavenly Path's ultimate skill and the origin energy are hidden? Chapter 1080. It was not easy to find the Heavenly Dao Shirkil skill and origin energy in Heavenly Dao Mountain. It was far from enough to rely on his own strength. Longao, I'll try to sense it. Give me some time. He nodded. Longao didn't ask any more questions. He knew that even Xiling had to be careful. Once he was sensed by Tian Dao, Xiling would end up dead. Longao didn't give up easily after failing to kill Shangguaniya. He didn't believe that he couldn't find a chance. Just like that, Longao followed the Martial Artists Alliance, looking for a chance. Senior sister, Master didn't let us come. If he finds out, we'll be in big trouble. Tonglinger didn't seem worried at all. With Tonglinger's status, she could disregard almost everyone except for her master. Linger, come with me to Longao's Peak after we finish at Tianao Mountain. Tonglinger was a little jealous, but she still agreed with a smile. Senior sister, since you can't forget Longao, why didn't you see him before? Tonglinger couldn't figure it out. She thought her senior sister was being superfluous. Linger, there are some things you don't understand. Who? Yiyin's face suddenly changed. She looked ahead cautiously. Linger also became nervous. After all, this wasn't the Martial Artists Alliance, but Tianao Mountain. At this moment, Tianao Mountain was full of danger and powerhouses. Yuyin, you don't have to be like this. Both Yuyin and Ling were surprised to see the young man in front of them. Brother Shi, why are you here? It was none other than Shirpatian from the Wanshou sect. As everyone knew, Shirpatian was one of Yiyin's suitors. However, the Wanshou sect and the Martial Artists Alliance were two different forces. It seemed difficult for Shirpatian to pursue Yuyin. Shirpatian and Tongling were very close. He smiled. Shirpatian looked at Yuyin with love in his eyes. Anyone who wasn't a fool could see it. The Heavenly Dao Mountain has descended. I also want to come and take a look. Tonglinger stuck out her tongue in disbelief. Why do you have to come up with so many excuses for your senior's sake? HM? Sensing the invisible aura emitted from Shirpotian's body, Linger cried out in alarm. Big brother Shi, have you made a breakthrough? I was just lucky. Showing off. Linger was truly happy for Shirpatian. Both of them were very clear about Shirpotian's strength. If he continued to break through, he would have already smoothly reached the peak of the Supreme Divine Tao, and he was only a step away from officially advancing to the rebirth realm. What kind of concept was that? Looks like you ought to be able to break through to the rebirth realm in less than 3 years. Senior sister, are you talking about Brother Shi? Tong Linger seemed to be a little surprised because she knew very well what it meant to break through to the Nirvana realm from the peak of the Supreme Tao in a year's time. Even so, this kind of cultivation speed was enough to look down on all of the younger generation in the Sky Martial continent. Even that abnormal long bow from the Long family could not compare to Shirpatian. This kind of cultivation speed was too frightening. Yuin, your cultivation speed is also very good. With the full support of the Martial Artists Alliance, I believe that in less than a year, you will reach the Supreme Divine Tao, and in less than 3 years, you will also be able to break through to the Nirvana realm. Rolling her eyes, Tong Linger said helplessly, I beg the two of you, stop praising each other here. I really can't stand you two. Shirpatian smiled embarrassedly. At this moment, if other people knew what Shirpatian was thinking, who knew what they would think? Yuin, Linger, the Heavenly Path ultimate skill is very useful to us. As for the origin energy, remember, no matter what happens, even if we obtain it, we must not touch it, understand? They nodded. Whether it was Linger or Yuin, they were very clear about Shirpotian's meaning. Although the Heavenly Path ultimate skill was powerful, for super experts, it was not necessary to risk their lives to obtain it. After all, they had the backing of the Martial Artists Alliance, and the Wanshou sect behind them. As one of the top 10 forces, how many people in the Sky Martial continent dared to provoke the Martial Artists Alliance and the Wanshou sect? However, the origin energy had a completely different meaning. The origin energy was the most powerful energy in the world, and it was also the key to reaching the peak of martial arts. For the source strength, what bullshit Martial Artist Alliance, what bullshit Wanshou sect, they were all bullshit in front of the source strength. Especially for super experts who were infinitely close to reaching the peak of martial arts, in order to obtain the origin energy, they could even throw away their lives, become enemies with the heavenly path, and become enemies with the whole world. This was the temptation of the origin energy, and it was irresistible. Big Brother Shi, if we are lucky enough to obtain the Heavenly Path ultimate skill, will you give it to us? It had to be said that Linger was really bold. If it was an ordinary person, would they dare to speak to Shirpatian like this? The Heavenly Path ultimate skill was probably the peak of martial arts. Such a powerful martial art, as long as one was a warrior, would want to obtain it. Even Shirpatian was no exception. If it was only Linger, even if they had a good relationship, Shirpatian would not give the Heavenly Path ultimate skill to her. However, the situation was completely different now. Linger had Yuin, a girl Shirpatian liked, and a girl Shirpatian wanted very much. Don't worry, as long as I can obtain the Heavenly Path ultimate skill, the three of us can practice it together. If not, I will give it to you. Be careful. Shocked, Shirpotian's face became very serious because over 100 black wolf had suddenly appeared around them. Moon-howling heavenly wolf, over 100 divine beasts, and one of them was a supreme divine beast. This kind of strength was more than enough to deal with the three of them. Big Brother Shi, follow behind me. How could Shirpatian not know the origin of the 100 moon-howling heavenly wolves that suddenly appeared around them? Other than the people of the Wanshou sect, who else could mobilize such powerful divine beasts? Someone wanted to kill him. Who was it? He did not dare to be careless, because at this moment, the 100 moon-howling heavenly wolves suddenly began to attack at the same time. The power of their combined attack was not to be underestimated. With Shirpotian's strength, he could ignore other divine beasts, but Linger and Yuin were different. Especially Linger, who was only a titled Great Emperor. Any random moon-howling heavenly wolf could easily kill Ling. That was exactly the case. Shirpatian took out the Wanshou token and prepared to command the moon-howling heavenly wolves to leave. The result? the Wanshou token was useless. It could not command the moon-howling heavenly wolves. Sure Potion's face became more serious because he already knew that the person who wanted to deal with him was not simple in the Wanshou sect. Chapter 1081. Big Brother Sure, what should we do now? Kill our way out. The 10,000 beast token was useless, and Sherpatian became anxious. Protecting the two of them, Sherpatian released a powerful aura that enveloped the four directions. Even so, Ling and Yuyin were still pushed away by the powerful attacks. Sherpatian was entangled by the divine beast, and it was almost impossible for him to save them. Linger, follow me closely. Yuyin knew very well that under such circumstances, the two of them could only rely on themselves. Yuyin's strength was considered strong, but it was easy to imagine the result if she wanted to fight against 100 divine beasts. Linger was helpless against the attacks of 100 divine beasts. Crack! Linger and Yuyin finally couldn't hold on anymore and were attacked by the moon-howling heavenly wolves. The two of them resisted bitterly, but they could be killed at any time. Senior sister. If we leave together. If we die together. Linger was very touched, and she swallowed back the words she wanted to say. Yuyin and Ling had already chosen to give up, because there were moon-howling heavenly wolves all around them, and Sherpatian was entangled by the divine beast. Even if they continued to resist, it would be useless. In the nick of time. In a moment of life and death. 100 Zhang long sword she flashed past, and before the two of them could figure out what was going on, Longao descended like a god of war. Senior sister, who is this person? Looking at the black-clothed young man who suddenly appeared in front of her, Yuyin's body trembled for some reason. Others definitely wouldn't recognize him, but Yuyin was different. Longao? Longao? Hearing her senior sister call out Longao's name, Linger sighed helplessly. It seemed like senior sister really missed Longao too much. She could still be like this in this situation. Longao was only a purple-grade great emperor. Not to mention fighting against 100 divine beasts, he didn't even have the slightest chance of winning in a one-on-one situation. For Yuyin, Longao was not afraid of any danger. Longao fiercely dodged all the moon-howling heavenly wolves around him with a single slash. He grabbed Yuyin's hand, and she grabbed Yuyin's hand. Just like that, Longao forcefully used spatial teleportation, and the three of them instantly disappeared. Under normal circumstances, it was impossible for Longao to teleport with the two of them. If he did, he would suffer a backlash from teleporting, and the consequences would be unimaginable. However, in this moment of life and death, Longao couldn't care about anything else. Within the heavenly Dao mountain, under a very secluded tree. Thank you? Who are you? Ignoring Linger, Longao and Yuyin looked at each other. Just like that, they stared at each other. Neither of them said anything. They just looked at each other. The two of them looked at each other, causing Linger to feel very helpless. She did not know what the two of them meant. Yuyin, how are you? Hearing the two words. Yuyin. Yuyin's body trembled violently. Longao, is that really you? Seeing Longao nod, Yuyin could no longer control herself. She directly threw herself into his arms and cried loudly. It was only at this moment that Linger realized that the person who had just saved them was her senior sister's lover, Longao. With a deep sigh, Linger walked to the side and silently looked at the two of them. She felt sour in her heart. You must be lying if you say you're not jealous. After hugging for a full hour, the two of them reluctantly separated. The two of them slowly told each other what had happened to them. Yuyin, you can continue to stay in the Martial Artists Alliance and cultivate. When I have enough strength, I will definitely pick you up personally. At that time, I will tell the world that you, Wan Yuyin, are my woman. Linga nodded. How could Yuyin not know about this? I know. I will work hard to cultivate. According to my master and the alliance leader, I will be able to reach the supreme divine path in at most a year. As for the Nirvana realm, I don't know. She was a little shocked. Yu Yin's cultivation speed, even in the entire Sky Martial continent, was one of the top existences. Longao could clearly sense Yu Yin's strength at this moment. She was in the supreme divine path. In just a few years, Yu Yin had already reached the supreme divine path. Her cultivation speed was even faster than his. Longao knew that although Yu Yin had the entire Martial Artists Alliance as her backing, her own talent was also extremely powerful. The Nirvana realm. If that was the case, Longao wanted Yu Yin to stay in the Martial Artists Alliance even more. As long as Yu Yin reached the Nirvana realm, there would be very few people in the Tianwu continent who could hurt Yu Yin. Yu Yin, the Heavenly Path Mountain is not a place where you can come. Listen to me. Leave now and return to the Martial Artists Alliance. If other people said this, Yu Yin would definitely not leave. She would even choose to ignore them. As for Longao, Yu Yin was very obedient. She said very gently, "Be careful. I will wait for you at the Martial Artists Alliance. Don't worry. I will do it. And I won't let you wait for too long." Yu Yin stood up and did not give Linger any chance to speak. She pulled Linger and left. Linger was extremely depressed. She did not even have a chance to say a word to Longao. However, she did not want to hurt her senior sister. Just like that, Yu Yin and Linger gradually left and disappeared without a trace. After sending off Yu Yin and Linger, Longao finally let out a sigh of relief. The Heavenly Path Mountain was full of dangers. The slightest carelessness could cost one's life. If something really happened to Yu Yin, he really did not know what to do. Clenching his fists tightly, Longao looked at the gradually disappearing figures. He secretly told himself that no matter what happened, he had to quickly improve his strength. Without strength, not to mention his own safety, Yu Yin alone would not be able to go to the Martial Artists Alliance to take away his beloved. Strength. It was still strength. After seeing Yu Yin this time, Longao was even more certain of the path he was going to take in the future. It was also because of this that he was determined to obtain the Heavenly Path Mountain this time. Not to mention the origin energy, just the Heavenly Path Circle technique alone, once he obtained it, his strength would definitely skyrocket. Seeing Yu Yin this time seemed to have stimulated Longao. However, it was impossible for him to find the secret of the Heavenly Path Mountain alone. Longao calmed down a little and continued to follow Shanghuan. He was waiting for an opportunity to see if he could deal with Shanghai. This time, it was a coincidence. Longao had been following the Martial Artists Alliance and looking for an opportunity to deal with Shanghai. However, he accidentally encountered Yu Yin and the other two who were surrounded. Longao did not save Sherpatian because he could see that it was almost impossible for more than 100 moon-howling heavenly wolves to kill Sherpatian. If he tried to save Sherpatian by force, he would go for wool and come home shorn. Not only would he not be able to save Sherpatian, but all of them would also not be able to leave. In fact, Longao was also selfish. He would not let the three of them face danger for an enemy who was not a friend. Not to mention Longao, no one would be able to do that. Chapter 1082. Inside Tiannao Mountain. Longao was looking for an opportunity with the Martial Artists Alliance while waiting for Xiling to sense the Heavenly Way's fatal skill and origin energy. The reason why Longao didn't use the two Weeping Soul Beasts was simple. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Longao wouldn't use the Weeping Soul Beasts casually. This was Tiannao Mountain, the territory of Tiannao. If Tiannao found out, wouldn't he be in trouble? With the previous example, the members of the Martial Artists Alliance didn't split up casually. This way, Longao could be considered depressed. 1 against 100, and 9 of them were Nirvana Realm warriors. Even if he had the help of the two Weeping Soul Beasts, he wouldn't be able to gain any advantage. Longao had no choice but to think of another way. Tang Hao was the breakthrough, and the only breakthrough. As a result, Longao found an opportunity to lure Tang Hao out. "Who are you?" Looking at the young man in front of him, Tang Hao was very curious. He didn't know why this person was looking for him. Although he wasn't very powerful, he released the aura of heaven and earth. What did this mean? The aura of heaven and earth was unique to Nirvana Realm warriors. "Vice Leader Tang, it's me." Seeing Longao's real face, Tang Hao seemed to be a little surprised. But after thinking about it, he understood. Although Longao wasn't a Nirvana Realm warrior, he had unintentionally condensed the aura of heaven and earth. He was just wondering how such a strange thing could happen. "Longao, did you come to Tianna Mountain for the Heavenly Way's fatal skill?" In Tang Hao's opinion, Longao wasn't qualified to compete for the origin energy. As for the Heavenly Way's fatal skill, he might be lucky enough to get it. "Vice Leader Tang, this trip to Tianna Mountain is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me to kill Shangguaniye. I hope you can help me. Don't worry, no one else knows about this except you and me." F***ck hearing Longao's words, Tang Hao cursed in his heart. He glared at the young man in front of him. If it was anyone else, they would think that Longao's head had been kicked by a donkey. Who was Shangguaniye? Shangguaniye was not only a Nirvana Realm martial artist, but she was also the deputy chief of the Martial Artists Alliance. Both her status and strength were obvious. Not to mention Longao, even he himself might not be able to kill Shangguaniye. Boasting shamelessly and overestimating himself. This was Tang Hao's evaluation of Longao. In the end, in Tang Hao's eyes, Longao was courting death by doing this. Regarding what Tang Hao was thinking in his heart, how could Longao not know? He sneered in his heart. "Vice Alliance Leader Tang, I've found a helper this time." Longao only summoned one Weeping Soul Beast. After all, if he summoned two Weeping Soul Beasts at the same time, it might scare Tang Hao. However, both Weeping Soul Beasts were superior divine beasts. Their strength was comparable to Shangguaniye's. It would not be difficult for them to kill Tang Hao. As a Nirvana Realm martial artist, Tang Hao could certainly sense the powerful strength of the divine beasts in front of him. That was right. Tang Hao opened his mouth wide in disbelief. At this moment, he finally understood why Longao was so confident. It turned out that he had a plan. It was no secret that Tang Hao and Shangguaniye did not see eye to eye. Tang Hao wanted very much to defeat Shangguaniye, but he had never thought of killing Shangguaniye. No matter what, a Nirvana Realm martial artist was in existence that the Martial Artists Alliance could not afford to lose. Nirvana Realm martial artists were the most powerful existences in the world. Losing one of them was one loss. Tang Hao was very serious because Longao was not the same as before. With the strength of Longao's divine beasts, it was not impossible for him to kill Shangguaniye. Moreover, he had Tang Hao. If he helped, Shangguaniye would die for sure, but the Martial Artists Alliance would lose a Nirvana Realm martial artist. If he did not help, Shangguaniye would continue to cause trouble for him in the future. Help? Or not? For a moment, Tang Hao did not know what to do. Longao did not ask because he knew Tang Hao's dilemma. After all, Nirvana Realm martial artists were not cabbages that could be found on the street. In the end, it was not that Tang Hao did not want to kill Shangguaniye, but he cared about the Martial Artists Alliance. He did not want the Martial Artists Alliance to lose a Nirvana Realm martial artist. Time passed by slowly. After a long time, Tang Hao finally raised his head and said helplessly, "Longao, I believe you know what a Nirvana Realm martial artist means to the Martial Artists Alliance. Losing a Martial Artists Alliance will be a big blow to the Martial Artists Alliance." Longao nodded. How could Longao not know what Tang Hao meant? Longao did not say anything. No matter what Tang Hao chose, he could understand. As the deputy chief of the Martial Artists Alliance, no matter what happened, Tang Hao would put the interests of the Martial Artists Alliance first. If Tang Hao agreed directly, Longao would be worried. "Longao, I can't do that. I hope you won't do it for the time being." "Why?" If Tang Hao did not agree, Longao would think of other ways to deal with Shangguaniye. However, Tang Hao's intention was very clear. Was it possible for him to give up? Longao was very curious. Given the enmity between Tang Hao and Shangguaniye, even if Tang Hao did not attack, he should not stop him. After all, it was a good thing for Tang Hao to solve a problem for him. Longao, to be honest, in 3 years something big will happen in the Tianwu continent. The tripod of 10 directions will be in trouble. No matter what enmity you have with Shangguaniye, I hope you can let it go. After 3 years, I won't ask about it. I can even help you to kill Shangguaniye. What do you think? 3 years? It was neither a long time nor a short time. As for what would happen in 3 years, Longao didn't care at all. He only cared about one thing now, and that was how to kill Shangguaniye and completely solve the problem for himself, so that he could cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. Vice Alliance leader Tang, I believe you should know that it was not me who wanted to find trouble with him. It was Shangguaniye who refused to let me go. If it was not for Murong Master's help, I believe I would have died in Shangguaniye's hands. I want to ask, is my life so worthless? Tang Hao was speechless because what Longao said was the truth. In this dog-eat-dog world, it was not easy to compromise. If you did not have the strength, only death would await you. Longao was willing to let go, but would Shangguaniye be willing to? Tang Hao believed that if he were in Shangguaniye's shoes, he would do the same. After all, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Unless he was crazy, he would not cause any trouble for himself in the future. Longao, I can promise you that you will leave Shangguaniye to me. What do you think? Would it be useful to leave it to you? When he was killed by Shangguaniye, what was the use of looking for you? Chapter 1083. Longao didn't say anything, but his meaning was very clear. He didn't agree. What did the changes in 3 years have to do with him? If he was killed by Shangguaniye, it would be useless to say anything. No matter what Tang Hao chose, Longao had already decided that he would take advantage of the Tiandao mountain to kill Shangguaniye. No matter who came, he wouldn't give face to them. Tang Hao had lived for so many years. How could he not see through Longao's thoughts? He sighed deeply in his heart. No matter who it was, they wouldn't be willing to do this. Longao, even if I don't stop you, do you really think you can kill Shangguaniye? Deputy Chief Tang, I'll take my leave. Since Longao had already said this, he didn't continue to talk nonsense and turned to leave. Looking at the gradually disappearing figure, Tang Hao didn't say anything in the end. This was because even if he could stop Longao, he didn't know what to say. He returned to the camp. Shangguaniye, you'd better be careful. Eh? What did Tang Hao mean by suddenly saying this? Tang Hao. Tang Hao waved his hand and said with a look of disdain. Don't ask me, I won't answer you. Damn it, he cursed in his heart. Shangguaniye was not a fool. Of course, he could sense some clues from Tang Hao's words. Could it be that someone wanted to deal with him? Tang Hao and Shangguaniye had always been on bad terms. If it weren't for the fact that they were wary of each other's identity and strength, they might have already started a fight. Shangguaniye was very careful. After all, the lesson from the previous incident was still vivid in his mind. Although he was very worried, Shangguaniye was also very confident. As long as he didn't fall behind and followed the chief, with the 9 of them working together, he wouldn't be worried at all. As long as it wasn't Tianao himself, no matter who it was. Brother Shangguan, what happened? Looking at Shangguaniye in front of him, Tong Tiandi asked curiously. Alliance Master, earlier, Brother Tang. Without the slightest concealment, Shangguaniye recounted everything that had happened earlier. He nodded. After listening, Tong Tiandi pulled Tang Hao aside and got straight to the point. Brother Tang, I've said it before. No matter how much you two argue, it's still an internal conflict. If anything happens to Tang Hao, It'll be a huge blow to our martial artists alliance. Do you understand what I'm saying? Alliance leader, I understand. Tang Hao sighed deeply in his heart. How could he not know what the alliance master meant? Brother Tang, what I want to know now is who wants to deal with Shangguaniye. Even Tong Tiandi himself was afraid of the person who had just tried to kill Shangguaniye. That was indeed the case. Tong Tiandi also wanted to know the identity of the other party. After thinking for a while, Tang Hao weighed the pros and cons. In the end, he answered truthfully. Alliance leader, the person who wanted to kill Shangguaniye was Longao. Longao? Tong Tiandi was shocked when he heard that the other party was Longao. He had never expected that the person who had almost killed Shangguaniye and the 4 supreme Dao martial artists would be Longao. Could Longao do it with his strength? However, Longao was a great emperor martial artist, while Shangguaniye was a nirvana martial artist. The difference between the two was too big. They were not on the same level. Regardless of whether others believed it or not, Tong Tiandi would never believe it. Tong Tiandi also knew that Tang Hao would not lie to him. Could it be true? Brother Tang, what's going on? He let out another sigh. Even he had yet to recover from the shock, let alone the alliance master. Following that, Tang Hao recounted everything that had happened in detail. After listening, Tong Tiandi was silent. Time passed by slowly. After a long time, Tong Tiandi said helplessly, This person is not simple. He has the help of the Nirvana mythical beast. If he turns against the Martial Artists Alliance, the consequences will be unimaginable. Nirvana martial artists were not cabbages that could be found on the street. There were only 9 Nirvana martial artists in the entire Martial Artists Alliance. It could be said that the loss of one meant that there would be one less Nirvana martial artist. With Longao's strength alone, even 10,000 Longaos would not be a match for a Nirvana martial artist, let alone one Longao. However, the situation now was completely different. Longao had a powerful Nirvana mythical beast by his side. It would be impossible for him to fight against 9 of them. What if it was a one-on-one? Alliance leader, forgive me for being blunt. Just say it. Alliance leader, I just talked to Longao. Longao doesn't want to fight against the Martial Artists Alliance. However, Shangguaniye is still unwilling to let go of Longao. If it wasn't for Emperor Oken's timely appearance, I believe that Longao would have been dead. Tong Tiandi did not say anything. Longao is willing to let go, but what about Shangguaniye? When the time comes, Longao will definitely take action to protect himself. Even if he can escape from Tiana Mountain, what about the future? I understand. How could Tong Tiandi not know what Tang Hao meant? As the Vice Alliance leader of the Martial Artists Alliance, Shangguaniye had to focus on the Martial Artists Alliance. No matter what happened, Shangguaniye must not be killed. Where is Longao? I don't know. Tang Hao shrugged helplessly. He did not want to get involved in this matter. After all, it was Shangguaniye's fault. Longao only wanted to protect himself. Not to mention Longao, he believed that no matter who it was, they would do the same. It was understandable. Tong Tiandi's expression was a little serious. He did not continue to ask. The two of them returned. Tong Tiandi said, Let's split up and search. Brother Shangguan, you and I will go together. Tang Hao had already guessed what the alliance leader would do. With the alliance leader's strength and Shangguaniye's help, Longao would not have a chance to attack unless Longao wanted to die. In the end, the alliance leader was still unwilling to give up Shangguaniye. After all, a Nirvana Realm martial artist was too important to the Martial Artists Alliance. Everyone scattered in all directions. Before Tang Hao left, he looked at Shangguaniye meaningfully and said, God is watching what you do. Don't go overboard. Otherwise, no one will be able to protect you. Looking at the disappearing figure, Shangguaniye said coldly, Alliance leader, I believe you heard what Tang Hao said just now. This matter must have something to do with Tang Hao. Brother Shangguan, do you know who is trying to kill you this time? The Alliance leader knew? Shangguan Ye was not an idiot. Since the Alliance Master had asked such a question, then the Alliance Master must know who the other party was. Tang Hao couldn't wait any longer. He really wanted to know who it was that wanted to kill him. Brother Shangguan, the person is none other than Longao. You must be familiar with him, right? Chapter 1084. Longao? Shanghai Ye was no stranger to Longao. Because of that, Shangguan Ye did not believe, nor was he willing to believe, that the person who almost killed him before was the so-called Longao. From the beginning to the end, Shanghai Ye didn't take Longao seriously. Everyone below the Nirvana realm was like an ant. Longao was just like an ant. Alliance Master, are you lying to me? Tong Tiandi didn't say anything, but the expression on his face said it all. At this moment, Shangguan Ye sucked in a breath of cold air. He really couldn't figure out how Longao was able to do that. In the distance, Longao had been following the people from the Martial Artists Alliance. He wanted to find a chance to get rid of Shanghai Ye. He didn't care about anything else. He was a little depressed because Longao had guessed that Shanghai Ye and Tong Tiandi already knew that he was the one who did it. It seemed that it would be much harder to kill Shanghai Ye now. He wasn't worried about Shanghai Ye at all. With the addition of Tong Tiandi, not to mention one Weeping Soul Beast, even two Weeping Soul Beasts might not be able to kill Shangguan Ye. He had missed the opportunity. Longao wasn't a stubborn person. Since he couldn't do it this time, he would wait and see if there was another chance later. He was going to look for the Heavenly Way kill technique and the so-called origin energy. The Heavenly Way was an expert at the peak of martial arts. One could imagine that the Heavenly Way kill technique owned by the Heavenly Way was definitely not simple. Moreover, the Heavenly Way had already taken out the origin energy. It was obvious how powerful the Heavenly Way kill technique was. No matter what, the Heavenly Way valued the origin energy the most. Longao had already disguised himself. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to recognize him. There was a sea of people in the Heavenly Way mountain. In the beginning, the 10 cauldrons didn't stop anyone from entering the Heavenly Way mountain because they didn't want to provoke the Heavenly Way. Right now, unknowingly, several hours had passed since they entered Heavenly Down Mountain. Gradually, the omnidirectional cauldron became impatient and began to chase away other people and factions on a large scale. In the Sky Martial Continent, the 10-direction tripod pillars were the peak existences. No matter who it was, no one dared to provoke the 10-directional cauldrons. Although everyone was extremely unwilling in their hearts, they could only obediently leave the Heavenly Down Mountain due to the strength of the 10 Directions tripod establishment. Within a short 2 hours, in the entire Heavenly Path Mountain, only the people of the 10 cardinal directions were left. The rest of the people were nowhere to be found. In the beginning, the 10-directional cauldron was afraid that the Heavenly Tao would interfere in this matter. In the end, the Heavenly Tao did not appear from beginning to end. From the looks of it, the Heavenly Tao would not interfere in this matter after entering the Heavenly Tao Mountain. This way, the 10-directional cauldron was completely relieved. The 10 directions were like a tripod, and they were wary of each other. They each looked for their own things, and it could be said that they minded their own business. Xiling, can you sense it? 3 days had passed, and Xiling still did not sense it. Longao felt that something was wrong. Could it be a trap set by the Heavenly Tao? Longao, you already know the identity of the Heavenly Tao. I believe you also know that the Heavenly Tao has many clones. He nodded. Longao was naturally clear about the Heavenly Tao's clones. If it was not for the Heavenly Tao's clones, he would not have been able to obtain the origin energy. The Heavenly Tao's clones are also very powerful. If there are no accidents, the Heavenly Tao's circle technique and the origin energy in the Heavenly Tao Mountain should be protected by the Heavenly Tao's clones. No matter who it is, Even if it is a Nirvana realm martial artist, they will be obliterated. I see. In the end, Xiling had already sensed the location of the Heavenly Tao's Sure-Kill technique and the origin energy. However, with the Heavenly Tao's clones guarding them, it was simply impossible to obtain them. However, there was one point that Longao could not understand. If the Heavenly Tao wanted to deal with them, there was no need for it to do so. After all, the Heavenly Tao's strength was obvious. Since the Heavenly Tao had sent down the Heavenly Tao Mountain, it would not continue to send out clones to guard it. Xiling, are you saying that the Heavenly Tao sent down the Heavenly Tao Mountain specifically to deal with the 10 directional cauldrons? No, with the 10 directional cauldrons' strength, they are not qualified to make the Heavenly Tao do this. Fuck. Longao cursed inwardly. Regarding Xiling, he was completely speechless. If the Heavenly Tao did not want to deal with the 10 directional cauldrons, why would it do this? Could it be that the Heavenly Tao had too much free time? Longao, if my guess is correct, the Heavenly Tao should want to deal with the God Diviner. Just based on the Heavenly Tao. Longao was very clear about the Heavenly Tao's strength. Although the Heavenly Tao and the God Diviner were both peak experts, the God Diviner was the true number 1 expert of the martial heaven continent. With the Heavenly Tao's strength, it was impossible for it to be a match for the Heavenly Tao. Xiling seemed to be able to guess what Longao was thinking. The Heavenly Tao's realm has advanced once more. However, the Heavenly Tao isn't completely certain, so it's using the Heavenly Tao Mountain as a test to see if it can defeat the God Diviner. Once it's confirmed, the Heavenly Tao won't show the slightest mercy. It will definitely deal with the God Diviner. So that's how it was. As the saying went, a mountain couldn't accommodate 2 tigers. If the Heavenly Tao wanted to dominate the martial heaven continent, it naturally wouldn't allow the God Diviner to remain. It wasn't just the Heavenly Tao. No matter who it was, they would do the same. Every man for himself, and the devil takes the hindmost. Xiling, based on your guess, with the Heavenly Tao's current strength, can it defeat the God Diviner? Longao wanted to know the result. Between the God Diviner and the Heavenly Tao, he would choose the God Diviner without hesitation. As for the Heavenly Tao, it was already destined that they would have a battle to the death. I don't know. The God Diviner and the Heavenly Tao should be on the same level. I'm leaning toward the God Diviner. Let's see if the God Diviner will make a move. Just as Xiling and Longao were speaking, 2 people were standing at the peak of the clouds. One was the Heavenly Tao, and the other was the God Diviner. As for Long Batian, he was nowhere to be seen. Heavenly Tao, what do you want? We already agreed that no matter what happened, the continent's structure couldn't be changed. Even if it was changed, it wouldn't be by you or me. Are you going to break that agreement? At this moment, the God Diviner was clearly infuriated. The Heavenly Tao had been created by him. But now, the Heavenly Tao wanted to deal with him, not hesitating to destroy the 10-directional cauldron. The God Diviner naturally wouldn't allow such a thing to happen. God Diviner, the Heavenly Tao Mountain has descended. I'm just giving everyone a chance. I won't take out my core energy. As for the Heavenly Tao Sure-Kill skill, I'm sure you know that no matter who obtains it, I won't interfere. The God Diviner had already calculated this, so he naturally wouldn't doubt it. With the Heavenly Tao's character, if he casually took out his core energy, he wouldn't be the Heavenly Tao. As for the Heavenly Tao Sure-Kill skill, it wasn't essential to the Heavenly Tao. Although it was powerful, the Heavenly Tao couldn't cultivate it. In fact, it was a trash martial skill. The God Diviner knew that the Heavenly Tao Sure-Kill skill was a trash martial skill. The 2 of them had a tacit understanding. If it was a powerful martial skill, would the Heavenly Tao Sure-Kill skill take it out? Heavenly Tao, I understand what you mean. Let's fight right now. If I win, you take back your clone. Furthermore, you can't interfere with the Heavenly Tao Mountain's matters. If I lose, I'll leave the martial heaven continent, and never step foot in the martial heaven continent again. You'll be the ruler of the martial heaven continent. What do you think? The Heavenly Tao was delighted. The Heavenly Tao's goal was to test the God Diviner's power. If he won, he would be able to dominate the martial heaven continent. Even if he lost, the worst-case scenario would be that he and the God Diviner would continue to divide the continent equally. Win or lose, he had to go all out. In the highest heavens, Master God Diviner and Master Heaven Tao didn't continue speaking. They looked at each other, both of them staring at each other. This was because both of them feared each other's strength. They were both peak martial artists, and Master God Diviner had been slightly stronger than Master Heaven Tao. Now that Master God Diviner had broken through to the Heaven Tao realm, it was hard to tell who was stronger. Heavenly Tao, there's no need for us to fight to the death. We'll decide the victor in 3 moves. What do you think? The Heavenly Tao nodded with a smile. All right. Within the Heavenly Tao mountain, Longao was talking to Xiling when his expression suddenly changed. The God Diviner's voice rang out in his ears. Longao, don't say anything. Don't resist. Watch carefully. As soon as the God Diviner's voice rang out, Longao's body was enveloped by a layer of invisible light. He vanished. At the peak of the 9 heavens, Longao was enveloped by that white light. Even the heavenly Taos couldn't sense him. Seeing the two of them waiting to fight, Longao was startled. He didn't know what the God Diviner was trying to do. It had to be known that the Heavenly Tao and the God Diviner were both at the peak of the martial path. On the martial heaven continent, the two of them were practically the strongest. So their battle would definitely be spectacular. Longao had never imagined that he would be able to see the peak of their battle here. Longao, the Heavenly Tao and I are fighting. You should properly comprehend it, especially your soul. It will be very beneficial to you. As for how far you can go, that will depend on your luck. Longao didn't say anything. He didn't dare to speak. Once the Heavenly Taos discovered him, let alone whether he could escape or not, just what would he do in the future? The God Diviner might be able to help him now, but could he help him forever? Soul comprehension? Although Longao didn't know what the God Diviner was talking about, he knew that the God Diviner's actions were definitely beneficial to him. He couldn't miss out on such a rare opportunity. The God Diviner and the Heavenly Taos continued to stare at each other, not attacking. Longao was extremely depressed. Longao, the battle between the Heavenly Taos and the God Diviner will be of great help to you. Other than comprehending your soul, you should also try to comprehend the Sword Tao. If you can succeed in comprehending it, not only will your power soar, but there will also be unexpected results. What did that mean? Longao didn't ask, because he didn't understand what the God Diviner was talking about. Author's note: I really was busy today. This chapter is 3,000 words long. Tomorrow, I'll have a small eruption. You're tuning into the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.